like to call the meeting of Leesburg Planning and Zoning Commission to order. It's May 23rd. It's 4:30. Please stand for the invocation and pledge, or the pledge the flag and the invocation. Invocation, pledge the flag. Sorry.
Dear Lord, we ask that you be with us today as we take on the business of the city of Leesburg. We pray that the decisions we make today will be pleasing in your sight. Pray this in thy most holy name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Oh. Everybody's had the opportunity to review the minutes. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions? If not, I'll accept the motion. Or is that a roll call? I can't remember. No. Okay.
It was not here. Okay. So I don't have to? Right. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we approve the minutes as submitted.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Thank you very much. Before we get started, I'd like to ask you to silence your cell phones. I appreciate that. We had a couple go off last time. Okay, who's doing the swearing? You want to do the swearing in? Anybody that's going to speak today, for or against, please stand up to be sworn in. You have to be sworn in to speak. If you don't get up and get sworn in, you're not speaking. Hang on a second. A bunch of folks just walked in. In the back, I'm asking for whoever's speaking today, for or against, please raise your hand to be sworn in. You cannot speak unless you're sworn in. Thank you.
I promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you very much. Remember, I warned you. We're not going to do it twice. Okay, you want to do the...
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to welcome everyone to the May 23, 2024 Planning Commission meeting of the City of Leesburg. My name is Dan Miller, Planning and Zoning Director for the city. Staff present today includes Deputy Director Candy Harper, Senior Planners Christine Rock and Diane Yackel, and Planners Max Van Allen and Melissa Meathers. City Attorney Jennifer Koch is also present. Today, there is an agenda and speakers registry available on the table out by the exit door. If you'd like to speak on a case, we ask you to please sign the speakers registry and turn it in to Christine, who is seated here to my left. Excuse me. Under the rules of participation, the meeting is conducted under the following process. The chairman will announce each case. The staff will read exhibits, including maps, photos, and text, into the record and present this information on the screen. Staff will then read a recommendation into the record, and the applicant will have an opportunity to speak about this request. The chairman will allow time for public comment, and the applicant will have an opportunity for rebuttal. And the applicant will have an opportunity for rebuttal. The chairman will close the case to the public. The commission will discuss the case. A vote will be taken, and the commission will move on to the next case. The Planning Commission is a citizen board which is appointed by the City Commission, and they have two major responsibilities. The first is to make final decisions on cases such as variances and conditional use permits. Pardon us just for a second for
The technical difficulty.
technical difficulties. Thank you. Again, the first is to make final decisions on cases such as conditional use permits and variances. The second is to make recommendations on cases which will be heard by the City Commission. We have a very heavy agenda today. We have 14 cases. There is one conditional use permit. That's a final decision from the Planning Commission. The remaining items will be recommendations from this planning commission to the city commission. Those remaining items on those recommendations will be scheduled for 2 hearings with the city commission, and each of those cases will have a final decision at that second of those 2 hearings. Would ask you to please note the tentative dates for the city commission hearings, which are listed in bold on the agendas. And please be advised that those dates are subject to be changed, so please do check with P&Z staff over at our office across the street. You can call us regarding the final hearing dates. And finally, on behalf of the planning staff and the City of Leesburg Planning Commission, we would like to thank you for your participation in today's public hearing process. Mr. Chairman, at this time, we are ready for your announcement of the first case.
Thank you very much. Under new business, public hearing case number CPTA 23-588, Sunnyside Estates Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Element Text Amendment. And do you want to do both of them at the same time?
Actually, I was going to explain in my process and talk about all 3.
Okay.
If that's all right, Mr. Chairman.
That's great.
Mr. Chairman, you are all familiar with the Sunnyside Landing zoning case, which actually began around the year 2005. We're here at 2024, so we're pushing 20 years on that one. It was finally completed in April of this year. Based on the legal proceedings and findings of the special magistrate, and including the original Sunnyside Task Force report of 2004, and I believe you were on that task force at that time. Staff is proposing 3 amendments. These are the next 3 cases, the first 3 cases that you'll be looking at today. These requirements will apply only to lands within the Sunnyside area that lie within the corporate limits of the City of Leesburg, and if there's any additional property which is voluntarily annexed into the city in the future. The first of these 3 cases is a comp plan text amendment. Case number 23-588, comp plan text amendment for Sunnyside Estates. This first item, that's a text amendment to the comprehensive plan future land use element of the city's comprehensive plan. It will establish the Sunnyside Estates objective and policies within the future land use element of the comp plan. This is the language that will help staff use. Staff will use this language to guide the overall development in the Sunnyside area. Candy Harper, Deputy Director of the Planning Department, will be presenting the maps, including the Sunnyside Task Force study area, the 4 density bands that are being proposed, and proposed density maps.
Should I introduce the other 2, or that way we can kind of cross over?
You can read them into the record, and then we can do the roll call individual for the vote.
Yeah, that's the way I prefer it. I also want to introduce case number 2. It's public hearing case number AMDT 23-590, Sunnyside Estates Ordinance Amendment. And our case number 3 is public hearing case number LSCP 23-589, Sunnyside Estates Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment. There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this has been a long time coming. The special magistrate recently said in his recommendations that if we wanted to, we should go ahead and adopt everything from the 2004 study. So we studied the 2004 study, and we believe that the language in the comprehensive plan, which is a text amendment to the comp plan, the large-scale map amendment, which is an amendment to the future land use map of the comprehensive plan, and the amendment to the code, for the zoning ordinance. So those 3 documents should implement everything that the task force wanted us to implement at the time. So what I did was I handed the study to our mapping section, and they followed the outline of the original study to encompass the whole Sunnyside area. So that's what we're calling proposed Sunnyside Estates. Next map. One of the things that the task force study wanted was 4 bands of density. So in that broad outline of Sunnyside Estates area, you'll see the corridor along 441. That's the most dense band. And then the next band is a little less dense, and you go all the way down to the lake where it's very much less dense. Next map, please. So on this map, what you see in the bright yellow outline, and it's gray where you can see gray, or if you can see inside the bright yellow lines, those are the City of Leesburg corporate properties boundaries within the Sunnyside Estates area. So the amendments we're talking about tonight will only apply to those areas. If anyone else wants to voluntarily come into the city, they will come in under these amendments, under these density bands. Next map. And we did put them in a chart. This again came out of our GIS department, who goes into the background data and finds the mathematics and puts it out there for us to read. So I trust their numbers. Next slide. That is all I have at the moment, unless you want to keep rolling through to the amendment.
Let's go back one slide. Let's hold right there, and I'll pick it up from here.
I've got a question on this, the numbers. I'm assuming that's units and not acreage, right?
No, sir. These are acres. We talked about acres in each band.
Okay, because I thought that it was only 700 and something acres in that.
This is talking about the whole band.
Okay.
All the land. So it breaks it down into Lake County, City of Leesburg, developed and vacant. So it takes in the whole band and the whole area. But for instance, for very low density, you have in Leesburg 51.98 acres. Very small area, if you remember the map.
Yeah.
Total area is 433.5, or rather, yeah.
Now, do they have a set of numbers that show how many units are in those areas?
That comes up in the language for.
In the PUD?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. They're going to be limited by those bands.
All right. I just want to make sure it's evident to everybody what was going on. Okay.
We can hand this out to whoever wants to go through it and figure those numbers out. For instance, a very low density is up to 1 dwelling unit per 3 gross acres. The next one up from the lake is 1 dwelling per 1 gross acre. And then medium density is up to 3 dwelling units per gross acre. And keep in mind, we are saying gross acres.
Yeah.
And then up next to the corridor, the Sunnyside Estates corridor, is up to 8 dwelling units per gross acre. So that's where the comprehensive plan language comes to play. If you're looking at the map and you want to know what you can do, this is what you can do.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, this request will establish the Sunnyside Estates future land use category in the comp plan text. Within that category, there will be 1 objective and 6 policies. So it will establish residential densities compatible with the Sunnyside Estates area of the city. So if you turn to page 31, you'll get that page that's right up there.
Yeah.
Just to familiarize you with this, the objective reads that the City of Leesburg shall implement and enforce policies and programs designed to preserve and reinforce the positive qualities of the established Sunnyside Estates community, its lifestyle, and the charm presently enjoyed in the community, and thereby ensure that these qualities are available to future residents. Now, that's kind of a fluffy statement. A lot of comp plans start off that way with those kind of statements. And then you get into the policies. Policy 1, immediately below that, which we don't have them numbered yet, states that the purpose of this future land use category shall be to, number 1, protect existing development from increased levels of density. 2, limit new development to density levels as expressed in the Sunnyside Task Force Study Report of June 28, 2004. And the 2045 City of Leesburg Comprehensive Plan, and 3, allow for new development consistent with the established Sunnyside Estates development patterns. So those are the types of things that are going to go into the comp plan. In addition, if you drop down to the last policy, annexations into the corporate limits of the City of Leesburg shall be voluntary. Connection to utilities as required. Property annexed shall be zoned into a planned district, and densities permitted on these properties annexed shall be as stated in the density bands. So those density bands, as Candy was describing a moment ago, you'll take the Sunnyside Estates future land use, which only can cover areas that are in the city limits. And then you have the 4 density bands, the very low, which would be SEV, Sunnyside Estates, very low. That's 1 unit per 3 acres. Then the low will be 1 unit per acre, okay? And then the medium will be 3 units an acre, and the corridor, that's moving north to south. The corridor will be 8 units per acre, and that's by the time you get all the way out to 441, and that's as what we saw on the maps. So on that recommendation, to read that into the record, for case number CPTA 23-588, Planning and Zoning Division is recommending approval of this request for the following reasons. 1, the proposed amendment to the city's comprehensive plan is to establish Sunnyside Estates objective and policies in the future land use element. 2, the proposed Sunnyside Estates future land use objective and policies implement the 2004 Sunnyside Task Force Study Report recommendation. And then finally, the action requested is vote to approve the proposed Sunnyside Estates text amendment to the city's comprehensive plan, future land use element, and forward to the City Commission for consideration. So that's the first of the 3 actions that are being requested today. And staff is recommending approval on this request, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Are there any questions of staff on that? Is there anybody in the audience that's going to speak on this matter? Okay, because I didn't want to.
What's considered a unit?
I'm sorry?
What is considered a unit? He mentioned about units.
A home,
What is a unit?
like a house, a home.
One home, one house, one, it could be a unit is one residential unit, as in, could be an apartment, a duplex, a triplex, a single-family home. Any of those qualify as a unit.
That's per 3 acres.
I'm sorry, sir?
Per 3 acres.
On the very low band, density band, 1 unit per 3 acres. That would be restricted to single-family homes anyway.
There's different bands with different density. You know, one band has 8 units per acre. Then another band below that's 3 units per acre. Then below that's 1 per 1. And then there's 1 for 3 acres. So it depends on what band it's in. The further south it goes, the less dense it is.
Good explanation, Mr. Chairman.
The reason I ask about who was going to speak, it's how we wanted to present this, and I mean, like right now, we could vote on it and go to the next one. But if a bunch of people are going to speak,
Right, yes, sir.
then I'd rather show them all, tell them all, and then vote on them. That way, we don't get
Okay.
people coming back and forth 3 times.
So let's go on to the second one.
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
Just trying to make it efficient.
Okay, thank you, sir. No, that helps. Okay, so on the
Some of us want to go to
next
bed.
item is Amendment 23-590, Sunnyside Estates Ordinance Amendment. This item is an amendment to Chapter 25, the zoning code. Remember, that first one was an amendment to the comp plan. This is an amendment to the actual law, zoning code laws. Under the current code, Sunnyside Estates future land use is not defined. It doesn't exist. This amendment creates and places the Sunnyside Estates future land use that consists of the 4 density bands. I'm kind of repeating myself here, but that's what we're doing, putting it in the comp plan and in the zoning code.
Right.
So you end up with the very low density, which lies adjacent to Lake Harris, and then moving northward, you have the Sunnyside Estates low density, medium density, and then corridor density. And the corridor is the one out here at the top, and that's where your highest densities would be allowed next to the largest transportation network. So in summary, this request will establish the Sunnyside Estates future land use designation in the city's land development regulations, which is Chapter 25 of the city's zoning code. And they would only apply, again, to properties located in the city limits of Leesburg and any property that would be annexed voluntarily in the future. So under that one, the recommendation is under case number AMDT 23-590. The Planning and Zoning Division is recommending approval of the request for these reasons. The proposed request to amend the land development regulations as shown in Exhibit A is consistent with the appropriate legally mandated planning and development practices in Florida, including the establishment of land development regulations. 2, the proposed request will establish the Sunnyside Estates future land use designation to manage future development in the Sunnyside area within the corporate limits of the city of Leesburg. And finally, the action requested is vote to approve the proposed amendment to the city's land development regulations as shown in Exhibit A and forward to the City Commission for consideration. If you flip over and to page 41 of your presentation, one more page, thank you. One more page, Di. There we go. If you look right up here, these are the future land use designations that will be in the city's zoning code right here. And then the Sunnyside Estates, the underline are the new ones. So you have the Sunnyside Estates category and then the 1, 2, 3, 4 density bands. And then it moves on to all these that are already in our code. So the first case was into the comp plan. This one is into the zoning regulations. And then one more. Large-scale comp plan number 23-589, Sunnyside Future Land Use Map Amendment. This is an amendment to the future land use map that will establish the Sunnyside Estates future land use designation on the city's future land use map. This, again, will be consistent with the Sunnyside Task Force study report and the findings and recommendations of the special magistrate. So all we're doing here is revising the future land use map to apply the Sunnyside Estates future land use category that we spoke about in the previous cases. So you have the text in the comp plan, the text in the zoning code, and now we have the map. And Candy Harper, who's our deputy director, I think has a couple of more maps to go through.
Back one. So what we're doing is repeating these maps so you can go back one, Diane. So you can see it's the same Sunnyside area. And then you have the density bands, that's all the same. And then you go to the next map, and you have the proposed future land use. So if you compare this map to the city map, you'll see that this is what we're changing.
Can you go back to the band real quick?
Sure.
Just so I can explain what I said earlier, the top one, the top band, that's 8 units per acre. You know, it's up to the highway, so it allows for more density. The next one is the 3 per acre, and it's getting further south. And that one's 1 per acre. And then finally, the one at the bottom is 3 acres, 1 per 3 acres. So that's what I was talking about earlier. I just want to make sure it was clear to everybody. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay.
Saw an opportunity.
Well done, sir.
So you'll see here what future land use designations we want to change on the land that's currently in the city, and it's all going to Sunnyside Estates future land use designation. And that will tie you back to the text in the comprehensive plan, and it will tie you back to the zoning code. Next map, please. These are the current future land use designations on those lands. Those properties that are already established will not be affected. And then you'll see where you can only see the underlying aerial is City of Leesburg on this map, and the colors that you see are Lake County future land use designations. They will not change. We don't have jurisdiction there. And here are the densities again. So inside the bright yellow lines, you can see what density bands. That's the lowest one we have. Then it moves up from there, and you can follow and see what kind of density you can expect going forward in those lands that are currently in the city, and for anyone who wishes to voluntarily annex into the city. And there's the same chart again, repetition. That brings us to the staff summary, and I believe that's all I have, Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Candy.
Thank you.
So moving to the recommendation for case number LSCP 23-589, Planning and Zoning Division's recommending approval of the request for the following reasons. One, the project meets the requirements of Chapter 163.3184 Florida statutes for large-scale comp plan amendments. Two, the proposed request to establish the Sunnyside Estates future land use map designation is consistent with the June 2004 Sunnyside Task Force Study Report. Three, the proposed request to establish residential densities is compatible with the Sunnyside Estates area of the city. Four, the proposed future land use designation for the site is consistent with the city's growth management plan, future land use element, Goal 1, Objective 1.6. Therefore, the action requested is vote to approve the large-scale comp plan map amendment from low-density residential, high-density residential, and estate residential to Sunnyside Estates and forward that recommendation to the City Commission for their consideration. I want to clarify that this is not a changing of the zoning. It's a changing of the future land use. We can't go in and change the zoning unless we get an application in. We can change the future land use. This is what has been requested by the City of Leesburg and the residents of Sunnyside, so that are not in the City of Leesburg. So this has been a long time coming, and staff is recommending approval on all three cases, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions of the staff? Everybody understands it's cool? All right. Well, we'll close to the public and render decisions. On public hearing case number CPTA 23-588, is there a motion?
I'll make a
Yeah, go ahead and read it just in case.
I'll make a motion to approve public hearing case CPTA 23-5888 Sunnyside Estates.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
All right. Any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll do roll call.
Commissioner Bowersox,
Yes.
Commissioner Sinnott,
Yes.
Commissioner Carter,
Yes.
Commissioner Ackerman,
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, public hearing case number AMDT 23-590. Is there a motion?
Go ahead. You're doing a good job.
Thank you. I would like to make a motion to approve public hearing case AMDT-23-590 Sunnyside Estates Ordinance Amendment.
Okay, there's been a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Chairman Senate,
Yes.
Commissioner Carter,
Yes.
Commissioner Ackerman,
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowersox.
Yes.
Thank you. Public hearing case number LSCP 23589. Is there a motion?
While I'm at it,
You're on a roll.
I motion to approve public hearing case LSCP-23-589, Sunnyside Estates Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it, Mr. Chairman.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Carter,
Yes.
Commissioner Ackerman,
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowersox,
Yes.
Chairman Senate.
Yes. Thank you. All righty.
We down 30 to left.
Okay, public hearing case number PUD 23484, residential plan unit development.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This property, the subject property consists of 37.7 acres, generally located north of County Road 48 and west of County Road, of US Highway 27. I've got east written here, but it's west in my notes. It's behind the public shopping center. This is the Brightleaf residential project. The request is to amend the current zoning, which we'll show you on the exhibits, and there is no request to change the future land use. Overall, on this proposal, the petitioner is Brightleaf Properties. They're requesting a PUD zoning to allow the future development of a proposed residential community consisting of a maximum of 253 attached single-family residential units on the 37.7 acres. Ms. Max Van Allen, planner in the office, will present the maps and photo exhibits, including the aerial zoning, future and surrounding land use, wetlands, flood zone maps, and CRA maps.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Give me one moment to set up. On the extended locator map on the screen, the subject property is located between County Road 33 to the northwest, County Road 48 directly south of the subject property, and US 27. The closer aerial to the property shows the subject property is located directly north of County Road 48 and west of US 27. The existing zoning on the property is split, with PUD, planned unit development, to the north and C3 commercial to the south. Surrounding zoning for the city of Leesburg includes C3 to the east and south, CIP to the south, M1 to the south. Surrounding Lake County zoning includes RM to the north, A to the east. Our proposed zoning for the total parcel is PUD, planned unit development. The current future land use is split, with low density to the north and general commercial to the south. There's no change in the future land use requested at this time. Surrounding city future land use includes general commercial to the east and south and industrial to the south. Surrounding Lake County future land use includes urban low density to the north, regional commercial to the west, and urban medium density to the southwest. Surrounding land uses include residential to the north and south, landscape nursery to the northwest, pasture improved hay acreage to the west, vacant to the south, and commercial and medical to the east. The property does lie within the U.S. Navy impact overlay, and the property partially lies within the 27441 CRA. There is some flood zone present in the northwest of the property, but there are no wetlands present. The property lies within Commission District 3. Signs were posted on the site May 10th, 2024. The top image is a close-up of the sign on the property from County Road 48, and the bottom is looking north from County Road 48.
Can you, somebody's beeping out there.
Yes, sir.
It just went off, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The top image is looking east along County Road 48. The bottom image is looking south across County Road 48. Finally, looking west along County Road 48. That's all I have.
Thank you very much.
With that, we move on to the department review summary. Project was sent out to all city departments plus Lake County government and Lake County School Board. Under the city department responses, there were no substantive comments coming back from the city departments. For clarity, when I make that statement, what we're saying is that this denotes that the departments, water, wastewater, police, fire, gas, library, et cetera, are all indicating that they have capacity to handle this proposal. On the school board came back, and this is a residential project. It will be subject to school concurrency requirements. In its review of the project, the school board did note that they anticipated, they have their formulas that they use for how many students will be generated out of different types of development. They estimate approximately across all grades it would be about 79 students. Now, in the case of like this, and like all of the developments that get approved, the school board at its discretion can require what is known as a proportionate share mitigation agreement. This is a form of mitigation in which the developer agrees to make a payment to the school board that is necessary in order to provide the student stations to serve the project. This usually results in a significant payment from the developer directly to the school board. In the case of the ones that I've seen recently, they've ranged from a few $100,000 to several $1 million, depending on the size of the development and the number of students it generates. Under Lake County Public Works, we did not receive any new comments from them, but we are certain that the developer will be required to improve County Road 48 along the length of their frontage by widening and or adding turn lanes and sidewalks, et cetera, as required by Lake County. That's their standard response. Under public responses, per the Florida statutes and City of Leesburg Code of Ordinance notice requirements, the project was legally advertised, posted, and letters sent out to the surrounding property owners. We did receive 2 letters of disapproval, which did state their concerns in summary regarding traffic, noise, infrastructure, roads, serious accidents at 27 and 48 intersection. Those letters are in your packet. Those comments are in your packet under the public comments. On the current zoning on this property, it is a split zoning, and as you all know, I do not like split zonings because they complicate land transactions, and everything else. The property, as it sits right now on the north side, the north roughly 20 acres, is zoned PUD under Ordinance 05-130. And then it's zoned C3 highway commercial on the south. The existing PUD on the property allows 116 units on that 20 acres to the north, and then to the south, there we go, thank you, Diane. To the south, you have the red there, that's the highway commercial. It's a little bit far off of 27 to get a lot of commercial action, but that's what the zoning is right now. The request that the applicant has brought forth would replace the existing townhouse and commercial zoning with a PUD zoning. That tan color up the top is the PUD zoning. They would replace that with a PUD zoning and allow townhouses only. Now, when we say townhouses, we're talking about single-family attached units. They're together on lots, and they're sold fee simple title, so you own a lot and a home. The new PUD, if it's approved by the City Commission, would replace the existing townhouses and commercial with townhouse only, then add some significant improvements to the buffer requirements, recreation, open space, fencing, and dark sky lighting. None of those items were addressed or much even known about and contemplated back in 2005. I think it's 2005, yes. So to describe the proposed PUD, there are 253 single-family attached units, single-family attached meaning townhouse. No other uses are permitted in the development. About 50% of those townhouse lots will be front-loaded, so you go into the garage in the front. Roughly, about 50% will be rear-loaded, so you will have a rear-loaded garage. Those rear-loaded sites would be fronting open space, generally speaking. We required that to get some diversity in the design. There are design and architectural standards which require the builders to choose at least 5 facade items, such as stone accents, shutters, banding, bay windows, and other features. Again, dark sky lighting is required for the property. That's the concept of keeping all of the light that's generated on the property on the property. There are significant amounts of open space and buffer on this plan. And Diane, would you be able to flip to the site plan in there, please? There's a 25-foot buffer tract along the eastern and western boundaries that is required. Along the northern property line, which is adjacent to some single-family residential as well, they're required to have a 40-foot buffer there. And then there's also on the northern buffer a 6-foot privacy fence. We will allow, if the buffer is currently very thick with trees, then we can leave that and just have the fence go through. If it's not, they'll have to come back and replant per the requirements of the plan unit development. The site access shown on the site plan, there is required to be one boulevard-style access point on County Road 48 and an emergency access point on County Road 48 as well. That emergency will be on the southwest corner of the site. Do you have that pointer, Max?
Real quick, is that north and south? Is that properly set?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because the ones we have here is turned. So
Okay, thank you for pointing that
get my
out.
bearings right.
County Road 48 is along the bottom of the screen here. There's the buffers along here and the 40-foot buffer along here. You can see it's written in there. There is a very large amount of open space on this one. Now, the requirement is 35%, but they've really done well on this design with a park and an amenity there. As far as this access point, that has to be what we call a boulevard access point, which means wider lanes going in and out and a landscape area, usually about 10 feet wide, in the middle, okay, for decorative purposes. There's also a stub-out requirement over here to the west for potential development down the road, which we don't know what could potentially come there. There's also PUD protection in the zoning document itself, protection for the wetlands and flood zones. I don't believe there were any wetlands on this property, but the wording is still there. The flood zones are minimal, but they're protected. There's prohibitions, which are standard in our PUDs, that you can't use St. Augustine grass because it's a water hog. You have to use Bahia, Bermuda, or Zoysia, something like that. Everything here must be on city water and wastewater. Everything in the city has to be on it, but we wanted to point that out. There will be no wells or septic tanks on the property. There are recreational requirements that include a total area of 1.16 acres, and there'll be a trail around a pond. Now, we're not saying it has to be exactly here, but somewhere in there will be a trail, a walking trail for people to use, internal recreation. And then there are some different recreational uses required and an amenity center at the head of the trail. They do have to construct the recreation area by the completion of the first 150 units. And as in all of our PUD documents, there can be no construction if there is no capacity in the water, wastewater lines, et cetera. Staff has our city staff has indicated that there is at this time. If they wait too long, it's likely to be gone.
First come, first served.
Each new PUD now has a reverter clause in it. Some of that's based on the Sunnyside information that came through over the last 20 years or so. But we used to do 10-year sundown provisions in our PUD, meaning you had to take action to substantially commence within 10 years. Nowadays, it's been dropped to 4 years, and there's an automatic reverter, which means if no substantial commencement takes place within that 4-year time period, it's going to automatically revert to RE1 zoning, which is 1 unit per acre. So there's some incentive for the developer to get moving on this.
And they understand that.
And they do understand, yes. In the recommendations for case number PUD 23484, this is for the small-scale comp plan. Planning and Zoning Division is recommending approval of this request for the following reasons. One, the proposed request for the PUD zoning is compatible with the current surrounding zoning districts, including Lake County RMRP, R7, A, Agriculture, and City of Leesburg, CIP, and C3 Highway Commercial. Two, there is no change proposed to the existing future land use designations of city low-density residential and city general commercial, which are, as conditioned, compatible with the proposed zoning and the current future land use designations, which include Lake County urban medium, regional commercial, and City of Leesburg general commercial and industrial. The site is located near existing city utilities at County Road 48 and 27, including upcoming utility improvements, which is a lift station that's being worked on by Winn-Dixie right now. Number 4, the proposed request does not appear to create a detriment to surrounding properties based on the location and proximity to compatible development. And the action requested is vote to approve the proposed rezoning from PUD Planned Unit Development and C3 Highway Commercial to PUD Planned Unit Development and forward this recommendation to the City Commission for consideration. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Sean Myers and some other members of his team from Brightleaf Properties are here to represent the case and answer any questions you may have. They also have a brief presentation if you're so inclined to see it. Planning and zoning staff is recommending approval. Thank you, sir.
Before we go to the applicant, is there questions of staff before we go forward?
Yeah, do we know approximately how many cars will be on the road in the morning and the evening? What kind of traffic's going to be generated?
Each project has to do a traffic study, and based on that traffic study, they have to do improvements to the roads. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but there has been a traffic study done. It is being reviewed by Lake County and the Metropolitan Planning Organization, and the cities has a third-party reviewer that does traffic study reviews. If a development trips a level of service, in other words, if this road is level of service, let's say C, it goes A, B, C, D, like that. If this is level of service C and it trips it down to a D, they're going to have to make major improvements to the roadway per law. Normally, Lake County, because it's Lake County roads, in working with us and reviews this, comes back and says there are going to be widening, additional right-of-way, turn lanes, and that kind of thing. And if I remember correctly, that is exactly what they did say in this case.
But there's no guarantee that they will widen the road.
If Lake County says they will widen it, they will widen it, or there will be no...
Because one more car is going to create more of a traffic jam. And I know this personally. And it's really problematic because I'm not sure what the numbers would be, but I picture 50 or 60 cars morning, 50, 60 cars in the evening easily, which is really overload.
Well,
But remember
Bottom
that
line,
half of
it's-
it's commercial, which
would be worse.
Well, no, I'm talking about the people who are going to work. This is not a senior project, at least to my knowledge. It's for
No, I understand
people with
that.
kids.
Yeah,
What I'm saying is half of it is zone commercial. If it's developed commercial, there's going to be a lot more traffic.
Well, yeah, I understand that,
Okay.
but it's our job to to see how this can impact everything.
Right.
And to approve it. So I'm asking these questions.
Please,
Right now.
please, this is not open to
Right now.
discussion out there. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Before we go further, would you turn the air down a little bit? I see a few people fanning.
And then, Mr. Chairman,
I'll take care of y'all.
Mr. Andrew McCown is also here.
Okay. Please state your name and your address.
Sure. Thank you, Commission. My name is Andrew McCown, and I'm with GAI Consultants. Our address is 618 East South Street, Orlando, Florida. I'm here with the developer, Sean Myers from Brightleaf. We do have a presentation, but I did want to address your question about traffic before we actually get into the presentation. So there is an approved traffic study for the project, and without getting into the specific numbers, all of the metrics, so the daily, the AM peak, and the PM peak from this project represents a decrease in what is currently entitled on the project, and the driver of that is the commercial on the what's currently approved generates a lot more traffic than the townhomes do, and what we are proposing is really not that great of an increase in townhomes that were already approved on the site, on the upper half of the site. So in all three of those categories, it is an overall reduction. Obviously, there's nothing built there today, so that you said one more car. There's nothing built there today, but there could be. There could have been something proposed and built there as is. Does that? Okay. So if you could put our presentation up, please. This is probably the last time you'll see me wearing a sport coat until the fall. So thank you for turning the AC up a little bit. So again, thank you for hearing our proposed project today. You'll hear this referred to as either the CR48 townhome project or the Onstad property at various times. It's been known as both things throughout the process. And can you advance? So we have representatives of the development team here. Again, I'm Andrew McCown from GAI Consultants, the planner and the consultant and the applicant on this project. I'm going to let Sean Myers introduce himself and his firm.
Good afternoon. My name is Sean Myers. I'm with Brightleaf Properties. I also have Devin James, who's our associate with Brightleaf Properties, and Raul Vitia, who's with a home building company that we operate, Great Leaf Homes. And then we have one of the property owners here, David Onstad, is with us today.
But you spelled his name wrong.
Yeah, I did notice that when that came up.
Sorry.
Missing an H there.
I'm an editor.
Apologize for that, David. But we're pleased to be here today to present this project. We're excited about the city of Leesburg and what's going on in Central Florida. And we always look to, we've enjoyed working with your staff to come up with this plan. We went through multiple revisions and feedback from Dan and Candy and Max. So I want to thank them for all the input they put into shaping the plan. Oh yeah, sure. So this is just an overview of what we are. We won't go through all of this, but one of the things I'm really passionate about is housing. When I got out of college, I want to do something that had impact, and housing seems to, people live there, raise their families there, spend their life, a lot of their life in their homes. So that was something that was very engaging to me. And I've been doing this real estate over 30 years and 25 years in development, so it's interesting to see how things change and to provide housing as the region continues to grow. There's a couple of recent projects in the last few years we've done. One in Eustis, Florida, 213 cottage-style homes. Hammocks Oaks was on the east side of the Villages, kind of directly across from where the Lakeshore Landings would be. That's a mixed-use project. And then Liberty Orange was 170 single-family homes in Orange City. I've been working in Lake County for quite a long time, a lot of times doing projects in the county, in South Lake County, and then this is my first one that I've taken through in Leesburg, although we have built houses here. And so in starting to build homes in this area 3 or 4 years ago, I learned more about the area and also doing the one in the villages, and kind of got to know the historic downtown coming here, and then learning about the future growth that was happening. So we think it's a really exciting. The city has a long history, and it's exciting to see how it's going to continue to develop going forward.
So Dan did a great job reviewing a lot of the high-level stuff, so I'll skip through a lot of this. If you can just kind of scroll through. We did talk about the zoning and land use and the context, so you can go forward a couple more slides. I appreciate that. Okay, so I do want to talk about the site plan in a little more detail. This is probably a little bit easier to see, a little larger than the official version from the PUD, but I do want to go through some of the aspects here. So as Dan said, we are proposing essentially two different townhome types, a front load product and a rear load product, which I'm going to show in detail. As for right now, we are proposing two different phases, roughly splitting the site in half. As Dan said, the major amenity as well as the retention and the floodplain and most of the parks that are part of the project are going to be part of that first phase. The Central Park amenity represents an amazing opportunity, both just for recreation, but also preserving some of the amazing trees on site. If you look at the aerial, you can tell that this site is blessed with a lot of enormous trees. And so we are very careful about preserving some of the best and largest of those trees in this plan, either in the park spaces, in the dry retention areas, or even we have carved out a few key locations in the buffers and the surrounding islands that actually specifically are for saving some of those gigantic trees. We are proposing one connection to the east. I don't believe Dan mentioned that one. It's actually here to the that connects directly to the commercial area. So we actually will have, ultimately, we'll have 4 different connections to the surrounding properties, including the one on CR 48. As Dan said, I do want to reiterate that we are attempting to be good neighbors by keeping as many of those big trees that we can along the northern boundary of the site and providing for an extended 40-foot buffer. Next, please.
I got a quick, before you change.
Yes, sir.
Sorry for all the questions, but
No, that's why we're all here.
both phases say phase 1, so which one is the real phase 1?
Oh, I'm sorry. The one to the south should be phase 1, and the one to the north should be phase 2. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
So the project is expected to be a for rent type product, but we will be platting each townhome lot individually just to provide that flexibility in the future if this were to transition to a ownership type of a project in the future. Next. Kind of focusing in on some of the key points. Again, these are about the accesses. We've got 2 future accesses to the adjacent property to the west, which, Dan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, they do not have a proposal yet into the city. So
Correct. That's correct.
So we're proposing these locations based on some generally accepted metrics of separation distance, and also, trying to save again some of those big trees. Go back. Not done yet. One more. So this is as Dan said, this is a boulevard-style entrance, so it's got 2 divided entryway and exit there at the front. We also are having a stabilized emergency access here that will obviously not be open for regular traffic, but is an additional way into the project. Okay, now you can go. So the front-loaded townhome products are focused towards the interior of the site, and as much as we possibly could, we wanted to front those directly on an open space. So you can see that most of the time, these units are fronting directly onto an open space, and when they are not fronting on an open space, we actually set them back farther from the street so that there is a little bit more green space in the fronts of those units. And Since they are front-loaded, that means there's an alley behind them with garages off of those alleys for access. There are about 116 units in this current plan that are this type of rear-load townhome unit. And each unit will have two parking spaces off the street, and wherever there is a townhome building facing a street, that street has on-street parking. So that is a condition that we feel works really well for this type of product. Next. This is an elevation proposed for this type of rear-load product. As I said before, if there is a condition where they are fronting an open space, we have a little bit shorter of a front setback because they are fronting on that open space. If they are fronting on a street, we add an additional 5 feet for some more landscaping and some more open space to set those back a little bit farther. Next. For the front-load townhomes, those are around the perimeter, and there are 137 of these units in this plan. In addition to the lots for the townhomes, there is an additional buffer behind those lots. So you have a buffer, then a setback, then the unit or the building. So it's not just a straight setback from those lots. And the driveways in front of those units are deep enough to park cars. So you have, in addition to the garage space, you also have that space for a driveway. Next. And this is what the front-loaded products are proposed to look like. These have a 20-foot front setback for those parked cars, and that's going to be behind the level of the sidewalk. So there won't be any cars parking, hopefully, over the sidewalk, and there'll be clear access in front. Again, I do want to mention that the 20-foot rear setback is going to be in addition to the buffer. Next. Just highlighting some of the different open spaces. In yellow, you see the different buffers with the larger buffer on the north. The large central open space with the signature park down here on the south end with all of the huge trees. The middle is going to be a retention park, and the reason we're calling it a retention park is because we expect, it hasn't been engineered yet, but we expect this will be a dry pond, so it could be utilized as recreation for the residents when there's not a storm condition. And then this north part up here is floodplain and/or floodplain compensation. We've kind of shown it as this open area, but where we don't have to disturb trees in this area, we won't be disturbing the trees. And this entire park is ringed with trails so that not just the units that are fronting on the park can actually access the open space. There's another space for what we have labeled as a tot lot here. In talking with staff, they don't like the idea necessarily of a tot lot close to the road. That's fine. It's kind of a placeholder, but it is a pretty flexible area, and that could be a dog park or some other kind of a space. And there are other locations where you could fit a tot lot in those spaces. There's also a linear park that several of the front-loaded or the rear-loaded townhomes are also fronting on, just to give some extra open space and connectivity to the open spaces. Let's see, anything that I missed? As you can see, we are really trying to pay attention to where we can save the big trees. They're really seen as an amenity to this site, particularly because it's not normal that you see a site with this many, grand oaks. Next. This is just some typical images of some of the amenities that we're planning for, showing that maybe this is a tot lot or maybe this is a dog park. But a lot of the amenities are going to highlight the natural features of the site with trails and other kinds of more active type passive uses. And that should be the last slide. So we're here to answer any questions you have. Thank you.
That was very comprehensive because he answered a lot of questions we usually ask, so thank you. Any questions of the applicant?
I'm sure you probably said it, the front buffer on 48.
That one should be a 25-foot buffer, and that will give us, if in the future, if there's any kind of additional right-of-way that the county requires, that should accommodate all of that. And we are showing here on this concept a right-hand turn into the project. You can just barely see it there, but that shows what we expect at this point without having actually gone to the county for their design criteria. That's what we would expect.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, the road that has the label 16 on it, what, I guess I don't understand the point of it.
Which?
There's a road on the backside of the units there that.
Oh, right there?
Frontage units, yeah.
Yeah, so the red numbers, those are actually from the graphic as part of the PD, but those are counting the on-street parking spaces.
What's the necessity for the road?
The necessity for the road is so that this road can come along the front of these units. So if you didn't have this road, then you wouldn't have the ability to connect with this alley. So you would have a lot of space that could not be accessed by a unit.
So there'll be access to those rear. Those are rear-loaded units, and
yes,
there'll be access to the front of the unit.
Correct. So that is an alley there.
Yep.
This is a road with on-street parking.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Nobody's signed up to speak on this. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak for or against this? Okay. You have to come forward.
I actually took his form back, but I do have a question.
Okay, well, you need to state your name and your address, please.
Dora Warwick, 27737 West Pelican Isle Drive,
Okay.
Leesburg. So I have this aerial, and I guess I'm going to need one of those guys.
Okay. Go ahead and ask your question, and then
Okay.
in case there's somebody else that has a question, then they can answer all the questions at the same time.
So I'm trying to specifically find our home in reference to all this. So is that okay?
Yeah.
Sir?
Is anybody else going to speak?
Can you go back a few slides? There should be a map that shows a little bit farther out.
There you go.
Right there. Okay, so you can see I've highlighted Pelican Isle.
Yes.
Right there.
Okay.
All right.
So I see the street. Okay.
You want to point?
Well,
Here.
I have tremors.
Okay.
It'll be all over.
That could be fun.
Okay.
So you want to point on?
Yeah, see, I have this. So this is
Good idea.
coming in. Okay. So if you come in and go all the way down to the stop sign on the house, right, if you get through the steps.
Okay, so maybe that
Right.
27737.
So they need to get closer to the microphone.
So
Because technically this is.
I want to know on your left.
Oh, no, thank you. Well, yeah, I tell you what, I will take one because I'm going to be out here. Thanks.
So they're going to show me on their plat with the houses
Okay.
in reference to where my house is.
Okay.
Can we go back? Yeah.
Which Which slide
Can-
are you
The one with the
The slide
site
with,
plan.
yeah. Thank you.
So basically, you're going to be
That
on
would
their
work.
northwest corner.
I want to make sure I understand.
No problem. Yeah, so she would be speaking about this
Yes.
property right here.
Okay. And you're planning on leaving all those trees, and then there's going to be an additional 40-foot buffer. Now, when you say a 40-foot buffer, is that a fence? Is that
There'll be a fence on the property line, and then 40 feet of, in this case, probably undisturbed
dirt?
trees.
Okay.
And then you have the property line for the lot, and you have the rear yard setback on the 20 feet. So it'd be
Better remember to turn
60
this
feet
timer on
from
next
the
time.
line to the back of the structure.
And that's going to be a town, those are all townhomes?
Yes, those are townhomes.
Okay.
And there's actually the 40-foot buffer that comes
All
around
right,
the corner.
we need to move along here.
Okay.
so-
Thank you so much.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
I forgot to turn the timer on.
I'm
so
sorry.
I was a little more, I was lenient with you. Okay. If you're done, if you're done, thank you. Okay, we're going to close to the public for discussion and render decision. Any discussion? If not, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Chairman, on PUD 23484, County Road Brighton Leach Residential Plan Unit Development, I recommend approval.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Will you read the?
I'm sorry?
I said he did read the recommendations, right, for it?
Yes.
Already, okay. I missed it. I second the motion.
Thank you. All right. It's been a motion made and second. Any discussion on the motion? Roll call?
Commissioner Ackerman,
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan,
Yes?
Commissioner Bowersox,
Yes.
Commissioner Chairman Senate,
Yes.
Commissioner Carter.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. We have two cases coming up that are on the same, so I'll read them both. I'll introduce them both. Public hearing case number SSCP 2473. Please don't talk. Thank you. Thomas Montclair Industrial Flex. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, sorry. Small Scale Comprehensive Plan Amendment. And we also have public hearing case number SPUD 2474, Thomas Montclair Industrial Flex, Small Plan Unit Development. Please step outside if you're going to talk. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Under the background, these next two cases, as you stated, are related, and we will present them together. The totality of this action is that there are three separate cases. There's an annexation, a small-scale comp plan, and a rezoning. As this body is aware, annexations are policy decisions that go straight to the City Commission. So today we're dealing with the small-scale comp plan and the proposed rezoning. Overall, this request is to create an industrial flex space development consisting of a total of 2.33 plus or minus acres, generally located west of Thomas Avenue and southwest of Montclair Road. On the first case, which is the small-scale comprehensive plan, the request is to change the future land use designation from City of Leesburg low density and Lake County urban high density to City of Leesburg industrial. On the second case, the rezoning case, the request is to amend the current zoning from City of Leesburg R1 low density residential and Lake County R6 urban residential to City SPUD small plan unit development. Ms. Max Van Allen, planner with the office, will be presenting the exhibits at this time, including the photos, aerial, zoning, future land use, surrounding land use, wetlands, flood zone maps, and CRA maps.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. The first image is the extended locator. The subject property is in orange hatching up towards the north of this image, and it's directly west of Thomas Avenue, southwest of Montclair Road, and then west of Carver Drive and north of West Main Street generally. See up close on the aerial, directly southwest, thank you, of Montclair Road and directly west of Thomas Avenue. The existing future land use, it consists of 3 parcels for this proposal. So the very top parcel is already within city limits and has a designation of low-density residential. Surrounding city future land use includes low-density residential to the north and south, general commercial to the south and east, industrial to the south and east, and estate density residential to the southeast. Lake County future land use in the area is urban high density to the north, south, and west, and that also includes the bottom 2 parcels of this proposal. The proposed future land use for all 3 parcels is industrial. The existing city zoning on a portion of the subject property is R1, low-density residential, and is surrounded by low-density residential to the northeast, south, and southeast, R2, medium-density residential to the south, C1, neighborhood commercial to the south and east, M1, industrial to the south, and CIP, commercial industrial planned to the northeast. The remainder of the subject property is currently zoned Lake County R6, urban residential district, and is surrounded by Lake County R6 to the northwest and south, and CP, planned commercial district to the south. The proposed zoning is SPUD. We'll go to surrounding land uses. This includes residential to the north, west, east, and south, vacant to the north, west, and south, commercial to the south and east, and industrial to the south. The subject property is partially within the Carver Heights CRA. There is minimal flood zone present in the west corner of the subject property, and there are no wetlands present. A portion of the subject property is currently in Commission District 2. Signs were posted on April 5th. This project was postponed to today's date certain on April 18th's meeting. So the top image is going to be a close-up of the sign on the property. The bottom image is going to be looking north along Montclair Road. The top image is looking north along Thomas Avenue from the sign posting location, and looking east across both Montclair and Thomas. Then we have the top image looking south along Thomas Avenue and looking west into the property from the corner of Montclair Road and Thomas Avenue. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you, Max. Moving on to the departmental review summary. Project was sent out to all city departments plus Lake County government and Lake County School Board. Under the city department responses, there were no substantive comments from any of the city departments. Under the school board, they noted as this is a light industrial project, it will not be subject to school concurrency requirements. In other words, it produces no students. Lake County Public Works noted they will require permitting through the county in compliance with all access and access management standards, including road right-of-way donations and sidewalks, which will be required. Under public responses per the Florida statutes and City of Leesburg Code of Ordinances, the project was legally advertised, posted, and letters sent out to the surrounding property owners. Staff did receive inquiries from persons living nearby on Virginia Drive regarding the definition of flex space, concern for their wells, their trees, gardens, plus noise, dust, and particulates. Those requests are in your packet. In recognition of that, I wanted to, if I may, Mr. Chairman, talk about that for a minute. The staff does appreciate that question, as those are legitimate concerns, so we wanted to address it. immediately by defining flex space, so everybody knows what that term means, and then noting the water and sewer requirements. First of all, flex space is basically an office warehouse use, very similar to what you see across from the bowling alley in the Leesburg Commerce Park. I think we have a representative from that area. Lou stepped out. Okay, Lou is on another case, but he's very familiar. So it's similar to what you see across from the bowling alley. All uses are conducted inside the buildings. The word industrial is frightening, and we want to recognize that because anytime you hear that, it causes concern. All uses have to be conducted inside the buildings, so there should no reason for there to be an impact on the gardens, trees, or dust. As a person who loves the garden myself, I could hear what they were saying. In addition, the development, as we stated earlier, all development in the city of Leesburg has to be on city water and wastewater. So there can be no wells on this property. They just simply have to tap into the lines that are there. So that should alleviate any concern about the wells because they're not going to be sucking from the same area. It's coming from the wells where the city has its wells, which are actually miles away from here. But I did want to recognize that, the folks who are on Virginia who brought up that concern, and thank them for noting that so that it gave us an opportunity to say that. Moving on, under the SPUD requirements, the proposal consists of industrial flex space development consisting of 19,884 square feet of buildings. Indoor light manufacturing like building trades and contractors, warehousing, printing, indoor storage, those kind of things. There's no other uses permitted. It's all for that type of use. Again, dark sky lighting. We did add substantial setbacks on this property, 50 feet on the front and 50 feet on the rear with a 10-foot planted landscape buffer and a solid opaque fence required adjacent to any property that is zoned residential. Doesn't matter if it's in the city or the county. If it's zoned residential, there has to be a fence there. That fence can be anywhere from 6 to 8 feet tall. Obviously, we have to get the 35% open space. 2 floors is the maximum height. There's a minimum of 2 access points, and some architectural standards to require screening of any mechanical units that may be, or roof equipment, AC units that may be on the roof, have to screen those. There is a minor area, small area of wetlands on the property that will be protected in the PUD. There is, again, 2 access points have to meet all Lake County standards. The developer will be required to improve the area roadways per Lake County requirements, the standards that they go for. If they need right-of-way, you have to give it out of your property. It doesn't have to come out of your neighbor's. Turn lanes, anything like that, Lake County will have the developer pay for it. Again, prohibitions on the St. Augustine that we've talked about, all development on city water and wastewater, and of course, no construction unless there's sufficient capacity. Everyone is, at this point, told us that there is sufficient capacity. In moving on to the recommendations, for case number small-scale comp plan SSCP 24-73, the Planning and Zoning Department recommends approval of the request for the following reasons. 1, the project meets the requirements of Chapter 163.3187 Florida statutes for small-scale comprehensive plan amendments. 2, the proposed future land use designation of an industrial is compatible with the adjacent future land use designations of Lake County Urban High, City of Leesburg, Low Density, General Commercial, Industrial, and Estate Residential. The proposed request is compatible with the proposed zoning of SPUD for indoor industrial flex space. And then the proposed future land use designation for the site is consistent with the city's growth management plan, future land use element, goal 1, objective 1.6, and the action requested on this small scale is to approve the small scale comp plan amendment from Lake County Urban High and City of Leesburg, low density residential to city industrial, and forward this recommendation to the City Commission for their consideration. Under the recommendation for the SPUD zoning, small plan unit development zoning that was just described, under case number SPUD 24-74, the Planning and Zoning Department is recommending approval of this request For the following reasons, the proposed request for the SPUD zoning is compatible with the current zoning, surrounding zoning districts, including Lake County Planned Commercial, Urban Residential, and City of Leesburg Neighborhood Commercial, Industrial, and Low-Density Residential. 2, the proposed request for the future land use designation of industrial is compatible with the proposed zoning of SPUD, which is small plan unit development. And 3, the proposed request does not appear to create a detriment to surrounding property as conditioned based on location, proximity to compatible development, and indoor industrial flex uses. The action requested is vote to approve the proposed rezoning from Lake County R6 Urban Residential and City of Leesburg R1 Low Density Residential to SPUD Small Plan Unit Development and forward this recommendation to the City Commission for their consideration. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chris Zipperer of the Senator Architecture Firm in Leesburg is here. I believe Mr. Zipperer will be representing this case if you have any further questions.
Okay. Before we do that, is there any questions of the staff? I've got one.
Yes, sir.
There's no outside storage, correct? Allowed?
I do not recall any. We can add that if it's not in there, if that's the choice of the commission.
Well, we'll go ahead and listen to you, and then we'll we'll address that.
Thank you.
Please state your name and your address.
Yes, sir. Chris Zipperer, address 33639 Lake Myrtle Boulevard, Leesburg, Florida. I'm representing the owner and Senator Inc. The site plan we have here is conceptual, and we've had conversations with Lake County, Seth Lynch, and we believe that we are in compliance. There will be no outdoor storage. We have parking, and everything will be handled inside with a small office and warehouse area.
Can I ask you a real quick question?
Yes, sir.
Not to interrupt you. Would you mind if we add that to that there's no outside storage? That way the city can enforce it.
Right. What would be considered outside storage?
Well, I've seen some of these places like this that are supposed to be, I call not as obnoxious as, big industrial things, but they'll have like cars parked out in the back that are being worked on, maybe if one of them's turned into a garage, with equipment out there, things like that.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the site?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
Okay. Because the cabinet shop to the south, they have trucks and cars all parked along the side.
Right. Yeah, vehicles are okay. I'm trying to avoid, somebody decides to do a lumber yard there and stores all their lumber and their PVC pipes and all that out in in parking spaces, basically.
Yeah, I got you. Along the Thomas Road, there are numerous businesses. Mm-hmm. The pallet business that has a great number of pallets you can see from Thomas, and then the hydraulic place has equipment there.
And most of those are M1, which is heavy industrial.
Heavy industrial.
Yeah.
Okay. I would anticipate that we would just have light storage outside. We can put it in the agreement that there would be no parts, pipes, lumber, those kinds of things. No trailers with equipment or whatever, like something like that.
Okay.
But as far as cars, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't want to see junk cars out there and things like that.
What about screening?
Right now, as it sits with the amount of residential that's nearby, there would be a significant requirement for fencing on this property.
Right.
And I think that would take care of a lot of it. As it sits right now, indoor storage is permitted, and basically anything that is not specifically permitted under Section 3A is prohibited. So Max pointed this out to me just a moment ago. So technically, the outdoor storage is prohibited. Now, I want to point out that in the place across from the Leesburg Commerce Park, across from the bowling alley, I believe the gentleman's still there that did the German autos or something like that. And this is the kind of place somebody like that could go. But with the fencing there, and I don't see it as a problem.
Okay.
I don't see it as a problem.
I was just watching out for the rest.
Excessive storage outdoor, if there were a complaint, we would pull up this document, and because it doesn't specifically allow outdoor storage, that could be used as the reason to tell them to clean it up.
Okay.
I can add this as well. The way the conceptual site plan is designed, the alleyway in the back is what the access to the rear warehouse, and the front would be for the office staff, whoever, if they did have some sort of little showroom or something like a cabinet shop, they would be parked along the perimeter onto the north and to the northeast.
Yeah.
So
well,
on
like I
the
said,
south,
I'm not worried about parking. I'm worried about stuff.
I'm thinking I'm thinking that there's not much place to store anything because you have to have that connection along the
Well, it
side.
sounds like it's covered anyway.
Yeah.
It's a mute point.
Mute point. Okay.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt you.
You're fine.
Is that it? Pretty much it?
Yeah. I mean, it's we were gonna the little piece of property that goes off to the back is not wide enough for streets. There's no way to exit. The land flows to the west, so we were going to flow everything back there towards the west end and for our water retention area. So that would be where we. So there's no access to the neighborhood to the west.
Okay. Are you going to use that little strip for water retention? Is that what you're saying?
No.
It's just going to be there?
Just leave natural.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not wide enough to use for water retention. It's not wide enough for a road. So I was just going to let it end. And then we made a loop right there at the end of the building for trash and garbage trucks and fire truck.
How wide is that, if I may ask?
The connection there, I don't recall right off, but it meets the 35-foot radius for a fire truck. And if it needs to be a little bit wider.
No, I'm talking about that strip.
Oh, I don't know.
The reason I ask is I was thinking if you're not going to use it, maybe you can deed it to the two property owners next to them.
That would be up to the owner, but yes.
Right. That's just.
I think it's like 15 feet or something, 12 feet.
Just throwing out ideas.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I like it.
I do this a lot, so.
I got you.
Thanks. Is there any questions of the applicant? Yeah. The representative?
So the green area in the back indicates, I'm assuming, a retention pond?
Yes, sir.
What's the protection from the public to the retention pond? Is there going to be a fence or something delineating the two areas?
Within the retention ponds, under the City of Leesburg Code of Ordinances, you have a 4-to-1 maximum slope. So that you have to be, I shouldn't say this, you have to be trying to fall down, but it's a low slope.
Yeah.
And if you have to do one with a higher slope than that, then there is a fence and railing requirement that would kick in.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, we'll open it to the public. There's two people that turned in the form, the two Herods. Are you both here? Do you still want to speak, or did he answer your question?
I had a question for him.
Okay, come on up and give us your name and address, please.
My name is Dudley Herod. Yeah, don't forget the timer.
Yeah, I forget it every time.
Dudley Herod. I live at 2418 Virginia Drive. That little block right on the back end is part of my property there, right there where that little piece sticks out there. And so where the retention pond is, because I had intentions of possibly putting a well in that little, and I didn't know if the retention pond would actually, that's where the reason why I was asking about the wells, is the retention pond and that, doing that going to, because I know a retention pond cannot be within 75 foot of a well, I believe, if I remember correctly.
I believe that's septic.
That's septic, that's right, that's right.
Septic, yeah.
Okay, so I just didn't know if that was going to affect anything like that with the well.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. Because I have that, because I have to do the gardening.
Yeah, I'm the second Herod. My name's Renee Herod. I live at 2418 Virginia Drive.
Thank you.
And I'd like to thank you all for your suggestion. And
that wasn't set up, guys.
I just wanted to make sure the mosquito pond, is that going to be a dry pond, the retention pond, you guys call, I call it mosquito pond. The retention pond in the back, is that going to be dry?
At this point, this is just conceptual.
Okay.
The fact if it's wet or dry will not be determined until we do borings
Okay.
to find the water depth.
All right, that was my next question, because my concern was not for you having wells there and sucking up all the water. My concern was there's like 5 families all around that little road there that are on wells. And just the fiber optic cable going in Leesburg and Lake County disturbed my well. It's just now settled down. So how much actual digging, construction is going to do damage? You know, how much is that going to upset the water table, basically? That's my question. Is there going to be any kind of study like that done? Is that common or no?
Yeah, they'll do the borings, and that'll decide that.
Will I be able to find out, like, or it's not an issue, or how does this work?
Well, maybe you can exchange numbers, and you can keep her posted.
Okay, please. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. That worked out well. Okay, was there anybody else that was going to speak for or against? All right, we'll close the public and render a decision. Any discussion? Okay. Is there a motion to, and we've got 2 cases here, so one of them is public hearing case SSCP 2473, and that's the one we're going to vote on now. Is there a motion?
Motion regarding SSCP 2473, Thomas Montclair Industrial Flex Small Scale Comprehensive Plan Amendment. I suggest we approve.
All right. Is there a second?
I second.
All right. Any discussion on the motion? If not, roll call.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner Bowersox?
Yes.
Chairman Sinnott?
Yes.
Commissioner Carter?
Yes.
Commissioner Ackerman?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, the second case on this property is public hearing case number SPUD 2474. Is there a motion on the floor?
There's a motion on the floor. I vote
to
approve SPUD 2474, Thomas Montclair Industrial Flex Small Plan Unit Development.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Roll call.
Commissioner Bowersox?
Yes.
Chairman Sinnott?
Yes.
Commissioner Carter?
Yes.
Commissioner Ackerman?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Thank you. Happy flex spacing. Case number 7, it's public hearing case SSCP 2487, Post Street Residential Small Scale Comprehensive Plan Amendment. The second case on the same property is public hearing case number PUD. Thought time was up. PUD 2488 Post Street Residential Plan Unit Development. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Under the background of this subject property consists of 49.12 plus or minus acres, generally located on the north side of Post Street and south of County Road 473 and east of Radio Road. The overall request is again for an annexation, a small-scale comp plan map amendment, and rezoning. And as you're aware, as annexations go directly to the City Commission, we'll be dealing with the small-scale comp plan and rezoning request today. The request under the comp plan amendment consists of amending the future land use map from Lake County urban low density to City of Leesburg estate. Those are essentially interchangeable in terms of density. The zoning case request is to go from Lake County R6 urban residential and CFD Community Facilities District to City of Leesburg Plan Unit Development. Overall, the petitioner, Brightleaf Properties, is requesting these proposals for the future construction of a residential development consisting of a maximum of 135 single-family residential units on the 49.12 acres to give to return a gross density of 2.75 units per acre. Ms. Diane Yeckel, Senior Planner, will present the maps and photo exhibits, including the aerial zoning, future and surrounding land use, wetlands, flood zone maps, and CRA maps.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. We'll see on the locator map that it is north of Post Street and southwest of County Road 473. And also on the aerial, north of Post Street, southwest of County Road 473. The future land use shows that City Estate Residential is to the southwest. And Lake County future land use shows that it is currently has a Lake County future land use of urban low density. And to the north, south, east, and west is also Lake County urban low density. The proposed future land use is City Estate Residential. The zoning map shows that city planned unit development is to the southwest. And for Lake County zoning, currently has a Lake County zoning of R6, which is Urban Residential District, and CFD, which is Community Facility District. And then to the north, south, east, and west is Lake County R6, Urban Residential District. To the north is also RP, Residential Professional. And to the east is also R1, Rural Residential. And to the south is also Agriculture. For the surrounding land use, we have vacant residential to the north, vacant and single-family residential to the east, single-family and pasture to the south, and then we do have a residential to the west. The flood zone shows that there is some flood zone on the eastern portion of the property, as well as wetlands on the eastern portion of the property. The subject property is next to Commission District number 5. And that is all I have at this time, Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Diane.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I just said thank you.
With that, we go on to the departmental review summary. Project, again, sent out to all city departments, including the Lake County Government and Lake County School Board. Under city responses, there were no substantive comments coming from the departments. Again, noting that the departments, water, wastewater, police, fire, gas, et cetera, are stating that they have capacity at this time to handle the proposal. Under the school board, this is a residential project, and it will be subject to school concurrency requirements. We did not get the letters giving us the number of students. I would expect, based on the size, that we're probably looking at half of what there was 79 in the other case. I'd probably say half that for this one. Lake County will end up sending that letter. Once in a while, it doesn't get here before the meeting. Again, if there are any capacity issues at this location, because these capacity issues are different depending on what school district, school you're assigned to, I should say. So this is most likely to generate a proportionate share mitigation agreement where they have to pay, as we stated earlier, to provide this to provide the student stations. Lake County Public Works did note permitting is required because of the Lake County roadways through the Public Works Department. They will require turn lanes on Post Street at the project entrance. They will require additional right-of-way. They will require a sidewalk be added. They're noting on County Road 473 that they would require a left turn lane going northbound, and they are still evaluating, based on the traffic studies, some additional potential improvements to Radio Road. Under public responses, per the statutes and City of Leesburg Code of Ordinances, the project was advertised, posted, and letters sent out to the surrounding property owners. We did receive one contact for a disapproval, which is noted in, which stated the concerns regarding traffic and density. Under the PUD description, this proposal is set up for 135 single-family detached units at 2.7 units per acre. No other uses are permitted within the development. Of the 135 lots we have on the current site plan, we have 66 showing up as 50-foot lots, 60 as being 60-foot lots, and 6 being 70-foot lots. There are design and architectural standards which require the builders to choose at least the 5 facade items such as stone accents, shutters, banding, bay windows, and other features. And again, dark sky lighting for the property, significant open space and buffer requirements. There is a requirement for a 25-foot buffer tract along the north, south, and western boundaries, a split rail or solid PVC fence along the north, south, and western boundaries as well. If the existing vegetation is significant within the buffers, then replanting will not be required. We like to see those natural buffers and provide an opportunity to save as many trees as possible. The site access is shown on the site plan, and we're requiring 2 access points. One will be the boulevard type access point on Poe Road, which again, you have the landscape island in the middle and slightly wider lanes. And the second would be simply another full access on Poe. So it'd be 2 access points. One is the nicer boulevard. The other one would probably be a little further to the east. We don't know. And there must be a decorative entry feature, such as concrete brick, stucco wall, or something like that for the signage. There is protection for the significant amount of wetlands and flood zone on this property, as you can see on the eastern side on the map. Same old prohibition on St. Augustine grass. Bahia, Bermuda, and zoysia are permitted. Again, everything has to be on city water and wastewater, so there's no well or septics on the property. They will have to be 0.62 acre dedicated to recreational uses and a trail around a dry retention flood comp area within a small amenity center at the head of the trail. Again, as in all PUD documents, there's no construction unless there's sufficient capacity, and we have been advised at this time there is. I did mention the roadway improvements for Poe Road along the length of their frontage and donating right-of-way and turn lanes per Lake County. In moving on to the recommendations for the small-scale comp plan to estate residential under case SSCP 24-87, the Planning and Zoning Department is recommending approval of the request for the following reasons. 1, the project meets the requirements of Chapter 163.3187 Florida statutes for small-scale comprehensive plan amendment. Number 2, the proposed small-scale comprehensive plan amendment is compatible with the adjacent future land use designations of Lake County urban low density and City of Leesburg estate residential. 3, the proposed zoning classification of PUD is compatible as conditioned with the current surrounding zoning districts of Lake County R1, R6, RP, residential professional, and City of Leesburg PUD. 4, the proposed future land use designation for the site is consistent with the city's growth management plan. Future land use element goal 1, objective 1.6. The action requested is to vote to approve staff's recommendation to change the future land use of the subject property from Lake County urban low density to city estate residential and forward this recommendation to the City Commission for consideration. Under the rezoning case for case number PUD 24-88, Joyce Caldwell Trust for Brightleaf Properties, Planning and Zoning Department is recommending approval of this request for the following reasons. 1, the proposed zoning classification of PUD plan unit development is compatible as conditioned with the current surrounding zoning districts of Lake County R1, R6, RP, and City of Leesburg PUD. 2, the proposed small-scale comprehensive plan amendment is compatible with the adjacent future land use designations of Lake County urban low density and City of Leesburg estate residential. And 3, the proposed request does not appear to create a detriment to surrounding properties based on the location and proximity to future compatible development. It should read to existing and future, Mr. Chairman, compatible development. The action requested is vote to approve staff's recommendation to rezone the subject property from Lake County Community Facility District and Urban Residential District to City of Leesburg PUD and forward to the City Commission for their consideration. I believe Mr. Sean Myers is still here to represent this case. And is Andrew with you on this one as well?
Stephen.
Stephen, I'm sorry.
Are there any questions of staff before we have the applicants come up? Okay, thank you. Reintroduce and address.
My name is Stephen Sposato. I'm a planner with Level Up Consulting, 3101 McGuire Boulevard in Orlando. You've met Mr. Myers, Sean Myers, and Devin James, and also the property owner is here as well. We prepared a presentation. Dan and Diane did a comprehensive, substantial, presentation already. I'd be happy to go through it or just highlight some of the site features if you'd like.
You can highlight.
Okay. Yeah. Also, our team is here, transportation, civil. We can answer questions in those disciplines as well. You can just go ahead and forward. I'll let you know where. You can start. Yeah, right there. So, just wanted to highlight a little bit of the site plan. It's a relatively straightforward design. Again, as Dan mentioned, it's single family, detached, 50, 60, and 70-foot wide lots. The larger lots, they're the darker orange color, ring the property. The 50-foot lots are interior. Buffers are provided along the perimeter of the property, and the goal is to retain existing vegetation where possible, and they're also where we don't have the vegetation necessary to meet the buffer requirements, we'll plant and supplement what is there currently. 2 access points here on the east side, and then our boulevard entrance is along the western side of the property here. There is significant open space, primarily associated with this feature here. And you can see we have wet ponds that border that, and then this dotted line is a trail that we're proposing that connects to the primary recreation area. And then also we have this feature in the center of the property that is open space, but we're also going to connect that trail through there. So if you live on this side of the community, you can walk directly to the park space and then around the lake. That's really, I think, it. We do, if you could extend one more. These are just example elevations. We'll comply with the conditions of approval related to architectural controls. And then the project is consistent with the plan as evidenced by your staff. It's compatible with adjacent development, and we appreciate your support and here to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from the commission?
Yes. Are these going to be, is this a rental community or is this a own?
This should be a for sale.
For sale.
Community. Sean Myers. Again.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we had one person sign up to speak, Randy Bitter. Please state your name and your address, please.
Hi, Randy Bitter, 10155 Post Street. I'll just read my statement. Seems like the motion to approve has already been made, but I'll read it anyhow. Hi, my name is Randy Bitter.
Motion hasn't been made yet.
Not the motion, sir. I'm sorry, the recommendation. My wife, Dee Dee, and I live on the 7-acre property that touches the western side of the proposed development. We're both lifelong Leesburg residents who attended Leesburg High School. My wife's a teacher, and I work for the local phone company. 5 years ago, we bought wooded property to build our house immediately touching the western boundary. We integrated a house with the Florida natural landscape. You can't see it from Post Street. It's only evident when you're within 100 feet of it on the property. We're situated between 2 church-owned parcels originally. Each parcel is currently zoned CFD. and across Post Street from our residence is a cow pasture. The most disturbing sounds we hear amens and hallelujahs on Sundays and a few mooing cows across the street. In order to build our house, we spent 1.5 years to correct legal recording errors on the subject property with Lake County to ensure that the 10-acre parcel to our east would remain zoned as Lake County CFD and not be zoned as R6. It seems that our effort, time, and expense is about to be undone by the land speculation company simply by annexing with the city of Leesburg and overriding the county zoning authority. So in the brief time that I have, I want to draw a picture of our local environment and hope that we may gain some support to protect us from development. On our property, we see Florida wildlife on a regular basis. Pictures some regular visits from bears, turkeys, hogs, bobcats. Even more notably, the sounds you hear are nothing like a subdivision. You can actually go outside and hear no sounds relative to people. I walk the property numerous times during the day, hearing nothing but cicadas, birds, and in the evenings, only crickets and whippoorwills. With the proposed development, things are going to change. Instead of watching wildlife during my daily walks, I'll be looking into the back doors of 15 houses, spaced evenly down 900 feet of my property line. I'll be hearing the sounds of 135 houses full of people, 135 barking dogs, and the coming and going of 270 cars that will occur all day and randomly at night, not to mention backyard arguments and fireworks. If I were allowed to make suggestions, I'd first ask to deny the rezoning at the 10-acre CFD. That would leave 40 acres of remaining land that could be developed. With just the stroke of a pen, it could be redesigned. If that's not acceptable, I'd ask for a visual barrier to be constructed, something like a 12-foot high fence or a non-traversable barrier of clumping bamboo. While the subject's design plan shows a 25-foot undisturbed buffer, that is in reality no buffer at all. Much of the 25-foot proposed buffer line between the properties is currently Florida uplands environment, consisting not of trees nor leafy shrubs, but low, thin native plant life, typically waist high or lower. We all know that no barriers will stop the sounds of a new neighborhood, but at least maybe we could block the view so that I could still walk my property and fool myself into believing that I'm still surrounded by Florida woodland rather than being stuck in an isolated island of trees void of native wildlife. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Okay, was there anybody else that was going to speak for or against? Okay, applicant, is there anything you want to address from that?
Thank you again, Stephen Sposato. Appreciate the comments. One note, they're in addition to the 25-foot buffer, and we will supplement that where there isn't sufficient vegetation. We also are providing a fence as well, so there will be a fence along that western property line.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask him? What kind of fence? Because he mentioned,
Yeah, it's a 6-foot PVC type fence is proposed. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then again, with single family detached, so it's not just the 25-foot buffer plus the landscaping, plus the fence. You also have the rear setback associated with those lots as well. So the actual distance from the back of the homes to the property line is actually greater than just so where you see the orange line there, that's the rear of the lot. So there is additional building setback as well. Thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Just a side note, I like the idea of the bamboo.
I was thinking about that yesterday.
Yeah.
I do too. Thank you.
I was going to put that at my house at one time.
It works.
In fact, our old house we had.
I'm aware of some varieties. I don't know the names of them, but they get 30, 40 plus.
Yeah.
Really tall and do a good job.
Just
Is
keep it in
that
mind.
something you want to add?
I mean, not necessarily on this one, but it's something.
Why not?
When you say a bamboo built fence or bamboo
No,
plant?
No, we're talking about
bamboo
plants. It's like a blind.
You're talking about bamboo plants.
Clumping bamboo,
Yeah, clumping
not the
bamboo.
running kind that becomes.
Clumping bamboo.
Yeah, they get very high.
I mean,
And they don't blow down and hurt anything like a PVC fence.
right.
Yeah, they're very strong.
It's a tough position to be in. I would want the bamboo myself.
But
And that fence will be, I'm sorry.
It's us who are requiring that PVC fence, correct?
We are, but we could
Change that to the bamboo
add it.
or add it? So in addition to, so they could put the fence up and then directly behind that, the bamboo could go.
That could be made part of your recommendation.
I would like to do that. I think we should consider that.
Okay. We'll address that when we close to the public.
Thank you.
Can I just,
Sure.
the fence itself will be maintained by the HOA. So if there is an event causes it to be knocked down or damaged, there is an entity that's responsible for repairing and replacing that. So it's not the individual owners, but an HOA.
Okay. Thank you. All right. We'll close to the public and render decision. Is there any discussion before we make the motion?
I think that we need to clarify the bamboo because some of it is very invasive, some of it is not. So I think that we would want to add the non-invasive bamboo.
Yeah, that'd be in the motion then. So whoever makes a motion, if it's to approve it, keep that in mind.
Is the developer aware of what we're saying? I see him asking questions. So.
Do you understand what we're talking about?
Sort of. I guess instead of the plantings that are included, Dan, in the buffer detail, we would supplement that with a non-invasive bamboo that would not typically spread and cause. Because typically bamboo, is invasive and does spread and does create issues with foundations or maintenance. And so I think Sean, we can.
I'm not familiar with that particular species of bamboo. I have seen it spread, but if we want to identify the species, and then we have, I think, an element in there that shows if we don't have natural vegetation, we would supplement that, and we can add the bamboo in the illustration.
Normally,
I have some on my property. Okay. Transplanted. So.
Okay, let's keep control of this here.
Okay.
And you
thank you.
The species.
Since we're not experts in that, maybe that can be worked out with staff afterwards.
Yes, sir.
But we'll make the motion clear of the concept.
Okay.
Now, I'd also just make it clear where in the landscape buffer you would want this, if it's just along this gentleman's property or the entire landscape buffer, just some things to think about.
Thank you.
Staff is looking at the western boundary next to Mr. Bitter's property.
Okay. Well, we're closing this back up again. And is there any more discussion on that?
I actually have. So there's a typical 25-foot landscape buffer drawing detail that you guys have.
Yes, sir. That's in the PUD. That's correct.
Could that be redrawn to show the bamboo and then be used as such in the documents?
We could.
For clarity?
We probably need to do something for clarity on that. We can add that, draw something, and add it in.
That way you have it documented
we need something
for the future.
Right. What I'm worried about is being sure that we get a species that.
Well, we'll let y'all work that part out.
Right. Okay.
I've been investigating, but I don't know the names of any of them because I like it too. So. All right. Back to rendering the decision. Is there a motion?
When we enter the motion, do we need to mention the?
Well, first you have to make a motion on the comprehensive plan, so that won't have any landscaping.
Well, that's true.
With it.
Sorry, that's my fault. In fact, let me. Number 7. I'm gonna read it out, introduce it again. Is there a motion on public hearing case number SSCP 2478, the comprehensive plan amendment?
87.
78 or 87?
What'd I say?
78.
No, 87. Sorry, I had my dyslexic moment.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
I'm entertaining. Sorry.
It's okay. Public hearing case SSCP-24-87, the Post Street Residential.
With the bamboo on the west?
No, not on this one.
That's correct.
Sorry.
That's right.
I passed my moment. Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Is there any discussion on the motion? Roll call.
Chairman Sinnott,
Yes.
Commissioner Carter,
Yes.
Commissioner Ackerman,
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowersox.
Yes.
I think somebody spiked my water. Okay, public hearing case number PUD 2488 Post Street Residential Plan Unit Development. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve PUD-24-88 Post Street Residential with the amendment for the bamboo,
Clumping.
the non-invasive on the western boundary.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Any discussion?
To include a redesign of the typical drawing used in the documents.
Thank you.
What he said.
I think everybody's ready for dinner.
Yes.
Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Carter?
Did we get,
Yes.
sorry. Did you make a second on that motion? Did I get a second on that motion? I just made
Oh, I
an
thought we did.
additional motion.
Yes, I made the
Mr.
second.
Carter
Okay,
seconded.
all right, thank you.
Yes.
Commissioner Ackerman,
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowersox,
Yes.
Chairman Sinnott.
Yes. Okay, I'm done entertaining for a while. I'm back.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
if I may, I need a break for just about.
Okay, let's take a 10-minute break. Thank you. For us old guys.
I was too.
I'm going to call this back to order.
I knew that.
Not to be confused with ordering pizza. Oh, shoot, I zeroed out my thing. It's back. All right, case number 9. You're in trouble. Public hearing case number SSCP 24163. It's asked to postpone it to
June 20th.
June 20th, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, in review of these next 2 cases and working with the applicant, which was Habitat for Humanity, staff has advised that the applicant should resubmit their site plan that they originally started with. Basically, the problem was that what they had started with would not match under the zoning that they were going to request. So we're working on it with Habitat, and it'll be taken care of, and we will get back to you next month. And that's for these next 2 cases, one being postponed and one to be withdrawn.
Okay.
If we may. Thank you, sir.
Sure. So do we have a motion to postpone to June 20th?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, on SSCP 24163, I move for a postponement to June 20th. It said, I thought it meant 10th.
Thank you.
Okay, that's for the reading.
Yeah. Is there a second?
A second.
Any discussion?
I just want to know, am I allowed to?
We can talk about what your role is and whether or not you should abstain from voting when it is brought forth.
I think she's asking if she could vote on this.
Oh, on the postponement? Yeah, there's no problem on that.
Okay. All right. Roll call.
Commissioner Ackerman,
Yes.
Commissioner Catlin,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowersox,
Yes.
Chairman Sinnott,
Yes.
Commissioner Carter.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. Public hearing case number RZ 24102, Penn Street Habitat rezoning. They are withdrawing this case, so there's no action to be done.
Motion needed.
All right. So public hearing case number SPUD 24120, Webster Street Office PDO Planned Development Overlay. Is there anything else with that? All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
This is a request for a plan development overlay for an office in the existing R2 medium-density residential zoning district on 0.75 plus or minus acres. The property is generally located east of North 13th Street and south of Webster Street as legally described. Whoops, I'm reading the wrong one. Sorry. The property is in an R2 medium-density residential zoning district and is undeveloped at this time. However, everything else I said was still correct. The request before you today is the applicant is asking for approval of a planned development overlay in an R2 medium-density zoning district to add office and similar uses to the underlying zoning. To give you a quick rundown, a planned development overlay leaves the existing zoning in place and all of the entitlements with that. It simply adds on to that under conditions. And that generally occurs, and specifically, this is a real good example of it because this is a situation where this is a perfect use of a PDO. And Ms. Melissa Metters, planner with the office, is going to present the maps and photo exhibits today, including the aerial zoning, future land use, surrounding land use, wetlands, flood zones, and CRA maps.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. This map shows an extended aerial zoomed out so you can see that it is located east of east of North 13th Street and south of Webster Street. And the next one just shows a zoomed in one, how big the property is on that corner of Webster and North 13th. The current zoning is R2 medium density with a surrounding of R1, low density, C2, and commercial, and SPUD to the south. Sorry. The current future land use is low-density residential, which is surrounding to the north, east, and south, with the west general commercial. The proposed plan development overlay is shown here, that it just overlays on the current zoning. And the surrounding land use shows single and multi-family residential to the north and east, and vacant residential to the east, warehousing, vacant residential and commercial, and institutional to the south, and warehousing to the east. Sorry, to the west, I meant. The community redevelopment area for this is the 27/441 CRA. There are no flood zones on this property. And there are no wetlands on this property. The commission district is 1. And the top of the top photo shows it's looking north from the property across Webster. The bottom one is looking east from the property along Webster Street. And the top was looking south from the property from Webster Street, looking west from property along Webster Street on the bottom. And this is the close-up of the rezoning sign on North 13th. And the bottom shows looking north along North 13th Street. The top shows looking east onto the property along North 13th Street. And the bottom is looking south from property along North 13th Street. I think that is that all? No, that is not all. Looking west across North 13th Street. And I believe that is all I have, Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Melissa. Moving on to the department.
Real quick question, and I think I know the answer, but I have standing because I have a property that's within 200 feet of that.
Mm-hmm.
Does that affect me at all as far as making a decision?
No, that wouldn't.
Okay.
As long as you can objectively look at this
Right.
and
I can,
make a decision, yes.
Okay, I just didn't want any confusion. Thank you.
So looking at the departmental review summary, your project again sent out to all city departments, including Lake County Government and School Board. There were no substantive comments received from the city departments. School Board noted that it's an office use, so it's not subject to school requirements. And Lake County Public Works had no comments in regard to this. There were no, in accordance with the state statute and City of Leesburg Code of Ordinances, project was legally advertised and sent out to surrounding property owners. There were no comments received regarding the project. I'd like to read a bit of the background looking at the recommendation and complete the recommendation statement. Basically, for case number SPUD 24-120, the request is to add a planned development overlay in an R2 zoning district. You've seen these before. We did a few on Pine Street, I think, Pine and Mike. We did a couple over there, and those worked out real well. But it's adding a PDO to an R2 medium-density zoning district and in a low-density future land use district. And then along with that, we will need a waiver from Section 25282A1, which is the 5-acre minimum on PDOs. And I'm going to be asking to change that 5-acre minimum under the new land development regulations that we're developing for the city in the future. As provided in Chapter 25-280, the R2 medium density zoning district would not normally permit office uses. In this particular location and in this particular circumstance, an office use is compatible with the surrounding uses and does not pose or create a new detriment to the surrounding properties. The activity that would be created through the construction of an office would allow an economic benefit in the area. In this neighborhood, it's almost like a transitional area right in here, and potentially create some new employment opportunities. So the Planning and Zoning Division is recommending approval of this request for the following reasons. Number one, the proposed request on the subject property for the addition of a planned development overlay with a request for a waiver from Section 25282A1 is compatible with the existing zoning district of R2 medium density residential and the surrounding zoning districts, including R1, R2, C2, and SPUD. There's no change proposed to the future land use designation of low-density residential. And number three, the addition of the proposed PDO, plan development overlay, with the waiver from Section 25282 will allow for an office consistent with surrounding land uses and with the surrounding properties while maintaining the existing zoning and future land use designations. The proposed request does not appear to create a detriment to surrounding properties based on the location and proximity to compatible development and is therefore consistent with the residential use compatibility requirement of the City of Leesburg Comprehensive Plan, future land use element B1I, general commercial. And finally, the action request is vote to approve the addition of a planned development overlay on an R2 medium-density residential zoning district with the request for a waiver from Section 25282A1 and forward this recommendation to the City Commission for their consideration. Within that PDO, very simple, we've added permitted uses, which would be maintaining the R2 medium density, daycare, home health care, office being general office, professional office, medical, veterinary uses, things like that. A single family residence would still be fine there. And beyond that, that's about it. It's going to be a standard. Everything else would come under the standard R2 requirements. If you look at the aerial or the zoning map, you can see how this area, you've got industrial, you've got the trail, you've got commercial, you've got residential, you've got the old, was it Wonder Bread? Store over there, and then residential right nearby. So it really is in a transitional place, and the applicant would be able to do something here to benefit the city. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any questions of staff? Does the applicant?
I believe we were supposed to get Miss Meredith Kirsty, but we do have Mr. Bill Polk.
Yeah, but he's not near as good looking.
That's right. There was.
Not your kind of cute.
Bill Polk, 600 Cascade Avenue, Leesburg, Florida. And I swore in already, too. So.
Okay.
What's the question?
Anything you want to add, or?
No. Dan's told it all. I can't even remember all this.
I wasn't going to make you walk up here.
Yeah.
Anybody have a question of the applicant? Go sit down. We didn't get anybody to sign to speak for or against. Is there anybody in the audience who wants to speak for or against? All right. We will close to the public and render a decision. Any discussion before someone makes a motion? If not, fire away.
Mr. Chairman, public hearing case SPUD 24120, Webster Street Office PDO Plan Development Overlay. I recommend approval.
I second the motion.
Any discussion on the motion? Roll call.
Commissioner Bowersox.
Yes.
Chairman Sinnott.
Yes.
Commissioner Carter.
Yes.
Commissioner Ackerman.
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan.
Yes.
Sorry. I was just looking down.
All right, thank you very much. Happy overlaying. Oh, there he is. You moved seats on me. All right. Case number 12, public hearing case CUP 24-121, Yellow Dot Pickleball CUP conditional use permit.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is subject property generally located west of Park Center Street and north of West Main Street, and it consists of units 104 to 108 in the Leesburg Commerce Center. I forget which building number that is, but it's the ones as you go into the Commerce Center, the building to the left. This is the same Commerce Center we were comparing with the flex industrial uses that we were comparing to in one of the earlier cases.
Yeah, this is the newer development.
Yes, sir. The request before you today is for approval of a conditional use permit in the M1 zoning district, which is industrial, to allow for a recreational activity, pickleball courts. They would be indoor pickleball courts. Melissa Metters, planner, will present the maps and photos, including the aerial zoning, future surrounding land use, wetlands, flood zones, and CRA maps.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. As you can see on the zoomed out aerial, it is east of County Road 468 and north of West Main Street. The more zoomed in shows you how close it is to 44 and West Main and 468. And the current zoning is M1. Hold on, that's not it. Hold on. Yep, there it is. Sorry. My sticky covered it. Sorry. It is M1 industrial, and to the west and south, it is C3 highway commercial. And the future land use shows it as industrial with general commercial to the west and south. The proposed CUP shows the overlay on that. The next one, the surrounding land uses are warehouse to the north, Leesburg Commons Park to the east, apartments and bowling alley to the south, and vacant commercial to the west. This shows that the subject property does have flood zone AE on it, and there are no wetlands currently. And the commission district is 2. And as you can see, the top one shows a close-up of the sign looking onto subject property. The bottom shows looking across Park Center Drive. The next top one says looking north along Park Center Drive. The bottom is looking south along Park Center Drive. The top is the close-up of sign 2 looking into the subject property. The bottom is looking across West Main Street. The top is looking east along West Main Street, and the bottom is looking west along West Main Street. And that is what I have, Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Melissa. Moving to the departmental review summary. Project, again, sent out to all city departments, plus Lake County government and Lake County School Board. There were no comments from the city departments. It's a recreational request, so it doesn't generate any students, so we received no comments from the school board and no comments from Lake County Public Works. Everything is there, the infrastructure, the parking spaces, we worked all that out. Under the recommendation for Yellow Dot Pickleball, under conditional use permit 24-121, Planning and Zoning Department is recommending approval of the request for these reasons. Number 1, the request meets the criteria set forth in Section 25-141 conditional uses and Section 25-284 district use regulations of the City of Leesburg Code of Ordinances for the granting of a conditional use permit to allow for the development of the indoor pickleball facility within an existing building. 2, a conditional use permit is required for the proposed use under Chapter 25-284, the use table. 3, subject to the conditions below, the proposed conditional use does not create a detrimental impact. And the number 4, the request does not create a negative impact or inconsistency within the city's comprehensive plan. There are some conditions. Number 1, conditional use permit granted to allow for the development of an indoor pickleball facility in units 104 through 108. Going back to the aerial map, if you would, Max. That's, yeah, any of those is fine. The 104 to 108 are, can you point those out? There's a concept plan in there, but those are toward the left side of the building, right up, thank you, right about in there, Max. And the remainder of those conditions are standard PUD conditions, CUP conditions, excuse me. And the action request is vote to approve the conditional use permit for the subject property to allow for the development of an indoor pickleball facility in units 104 through 108. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Andrew Byer, I believe, is here, and Mr. Lou Forges is also here. And pickleball is one of, if not the fastest growing sport around. So with that, staff is recommending approval.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions of staff?
What's pickleball?
It's a
tiny tennis.
It's a smaller version of. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Bigger ping pong.
Yeah, true. Does the applicant have anything to add, or you're good with the presentation? Cool.
If you have any questions.
Thanks. Is there anybody to speak for or against in the audience? Okay, thank you. We'll close to the public and render a decision.
Motion from over there someplace, don't we?
Give it a shot. Make a motion to approve public hearing case CUP 24-121 Yellow Dot Pickleball Cup conditional use permit.
All right.
Second. Good job.
Good job, yeah. Any discussion on the motion? Roll call.
Chairman Stinnett,
Yes.
Commissioner
I'm
Carter,
ready for it.
Yes.
Commissioner Ackerman,
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowersox.
Yes.
Happy pickleball.
Y'all will be very successful.
Yes, I saw that and I went, man, that's a good idea. Okay, case number 13 and 14, I'm going to introduce both of them. They'll be presented at the same time. Public hearing case number SSCP 24-157, North Shore Caris Cove, Small Scale Comprehensive Plan. In case number 14, public hearing case number PUD 24-158, North Shore Caris Cove, Plan Unit Development.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The subject property consists of plus or minus 40.6 acres, generally located on the north side of North Shore Drive and west of Beverly Point Road. The request is for, again, an annexation, small-scale comp plan. I've got a large scale here, small-scale comp plan, and rezoning of the property, as you will see in the exhibits. The commission may remember this case from some time back in the past, as it was at that point a proposal for 13 lots to contain 26 duplex units. Okay. At the Planning Commission, there was a significant amount of public opposition and concern, and the Planning Commission recommended that the proposal be revised to a reduced number of single-family lots and a comparison of lot sizes and so forth. And that's what the result of is that what you are seeing today. So the applicant has revised from requesting a total of 26 duplex units to 8 single-family detached units. So they made a significant change here. Overall, the proposal, the petitioner, GL Summit Engineering, is requesting a PUD to allow the construction of proposed residential development with a maximum of the 8 units on these 40 acres. The property is currently under Lake County jurisdiction and zoned C1 neighborhood commercial. Being C1 at this location is a bit of a problem, as it's way too far off the road, I think, to merit commercial use. Melissa Metters, planner, will present the maps and photo exhibits, aerial zoning, future land use, surrounding land use, wetlands, flood zone, and CRA maps.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Excuse me, Dan, you
Yes,
were
ma'am.
saying that, I guess I misheard you. You're saying that the property is not conducive to commercial because it's so far back.
What I actually meant, yes, thank you for that opportunity. When you look at the property here outlined in blue, it's pretty good distance off of Citrus Boulevard.
Okay.
That's what I'm intended to say.
His opinion that it wasn't really suited for commercial.
Right, and as it sits in Lake County, under Lake County jurisdiction right now, it is under a neighborhood commercial zoning, and it's, when you go out into that area, I don't see that as a professional planner. I do not see that as a commercial parcel.
I imagine it was set up that way years ago.
It was probably
Brizard's
decades.
probably wanted to do some kind of a
years ago.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, some kind of a marina or
Right.
Yes, sir.
Recreation or something.
yeah.
Thank you.
Go ahead. We're done chatting.
Thank you, Commissioners. This extended aerial shows that the subject property is east of Citrus Boulevard and north of North Shore Drive. The next one just is a zoomed-in version to show you how close it is to the water. In other words, the city of Leesburg zoning on this map shows it is to the north is PUD and C3 highway commercial. To the east, it's R1A single family residential, and to the south is R1 low density and public, and R2 medium density, and to the west is C3 highway commercial. Lake County zoning shows it is C1 neighborhood commercial. The proposed zoning shows it as a PUD plan unit development, and the city of Leesburg future land use shows the immediate city of Leesburg future land uses are estate residential to the east, to the south is institutional, and low density residential and conservation to the north and west. The Lake County future land use is Lake County urban medium density, and the surrounding land uses are vacant residential in state of Florida to the north, residential to the east, place of worship, school board of Lake County, and residential and vacant residential to the south, and wetlands to the west. The nearest community redevelopment area is the 27/441 CRA. You can see on the property that the flood zone AE covers the majority of it. And there are extensive wetlands, including shrub swamp, hardwood swamp, in both water and excavated water. The Commission District is located between Districts 4 and 5. And the top photo shows a close-up of a sign on the property from North Shore Drive. The bottom shows looking north onto the property from North Shore Drive. The top on the next page shows looking southeast from the property along North Shore Drive. The bottom is looking south from the property across North Shore Drive. And the last photo shows looking northwest from the property along North Shore Drive. And that is all I have, Mr. Miller.
Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Moving on to the departmental review summary. Project again sent out to all city departments, Lake County government, Lake County School Board. There were no substantive comments from the city departments. School board returned to staff a no impact letter. And what they're stating by the no impact letter is that the proposal will not generate enough students to require further action by the school board, such as a mitigation agreement. They're just not concerned about it. Under Lake County Public Works, there was a no comments response, and again, under public responses, the project was legally advertised, posted, and letters sent out to the surrounding property owners. We did receive one disapproval and one no comment for the proposed request. The PUD description, now this is, again, in the past, I think they were proposing 26 duplex units, and now it's 8 units. So we got 40 acres with a request for an SPUD zoning of 8 single-family detached units. Of the 40 acres, the majority of that lies in wetlands and flood zones and is going to be placed in the conservation future land use category. Only the far southern area of the property directly fronting North Shore Drive is proposed for development of the 8 houses. No other uses would be permitted. The minimum lot size would be 10,000 square feet. The minimum lot width is 90 feet, and the minimum depth 115. There are design and architectural standards like we have in all the other neighborhoods, requiring to choose the 5 facade items, stone accents, shutters, banding, bay windows, or choice of features, and that dark sky lighting for any lighting on the property. The recreational requirements include a tot lot with a playground equipment, and because it's so small, we said a small tot lot would work just fine there. They're going to meet the 35% open space with no problem. Sorry, I can't even say that with a straight face.
98%.
Yeah. The site access is along, of course, North Shore Drive. We noted that the protection for the wetlands and flood zones is by placing it in the conservation future land use. Again, the same prohibitions on St. Augustine grass. They all have to be on city water and wastewater, no wells or septic systems, and no construction unless there's sufficient capacity. Under the recommendations for the small-scale comp plan, case number SSCP 24157, Planning and Zoning Department is recommending approval of this request because the project, number one, meets the requirements of Chapter 163-3187 Florida statutes for small-scale comprehensive plan amendments. 2, the proposed request for a small-scale comp plan amendment to conservation and estate residential is compatible with the adjacent future land use designations of City of Leesburg conservation and estate residential. And 3, the proposed request for a plan unit development zoning is compatible with the current surrounding zoning district of City of Leesburg PUD, R1A, which is single-family residential, R1, which is low-density residential, R2, which is medium-density residential, R3, high-density residential and public, and C3, which is general commercial. 4, the proposed future land use designation for the site is consistent with the city's growth management plan, future land use element goal 1, objective 1.6, and the action requested is to approve staff's recommendation to change future land use of the subject property from Lake County urban medium density to the City of Leesburg conservation and state residential, and forward this recommendation to the City Commission for their consideration. under the rezoning case, which is case number PUD 24-158, Planning and Zoning Department is recommending approval of this request for the following reasons. Number one, the proposed request for a plan unit development zoning is compatible with the current surrounding zoning districts, which are listed. The proposed request for the future land use designation of conservation and estate is compatible with the proposed zoning district of PUD. Three, the proposed request does not appear to create a detriment to surrounding properties based on location and proximity to compatible development, including existing single-family development. The action requested is vote to approve the proposed rezoning from Lake County C1 Neighborhood Commercial to City of Leesburg PUD Plan Unit Development and forward this recommendation to the City Commission for consideration. I did want to make one minor change to the PUD, which was an error on our part, which Mr. Jeff Summit, who is here representing the project, noted to me just prior to the meeting. Under section N1F, was it 4? Okay. 4.1N. 4N1, the side setback should be 7.5 feet instead of 10. These are 90-foot wide lots, so setbacks are not a big concern here in that case. And I'd like to thank Mr. Summit for pointing that out. It was just a typo on our part. Beyond that, Mr. Jeff Summit from GL Summit Engineering, Mr. Jason Lee of H2O Development are both here to represent the case and answer any questions that you may have. Staff is recommending approval of both cases, Mr. Chairman.
I do have one question. Is there going to be an HOA to take care of all the excess property?
Well, it doesn't really have to be. It's wild as it is now. Nothing will change about the excess property. Okay. If they want to set one up, that is not a problem.
Because if they sell all those lots, then who's going to own all the swampland?
That's a question that you should ask them.
Okay.
Sir.
As I was asking you, I was thinking the same thing.
That's a very good question.
Okay. Come on. All right. State your name and your address, please.
My turn on the Price is Wrong tonight, isn't it? All right, Jeff Summit with Summit Engineering, 3667 Simonton Place, Lake Mary, Florida. Start off real quick. Yes, there will be, because that is exactly the reason we need an HOA, is to accommodate the areas we're going to put in open space tracts that will be dedicated to the HOA, and to set up the maintenance so that we can have a budget so that those do get mowed and maintained in perpetuity with property. So yes.
Go.
Just real quickly, I'd just like to reiterate, we have been here before on this project. When we first came in here, this was a much denser project than what's before you tonight. We worked with Dan and his staff to try to come up with something. The goal that this commission gave us when we came the first time was to go back, look at the existing lots around us, do a compatibility study, come back with a proposal that was more consistent with the surrounding area. So we've done that. It took us a little bit of time, and I think what we've brought back is a project that is much more compatible with the existing uses, the existing area. Like Dan said, we're saving so much conservation area, so much open space. I think we hit all the buttons you guys gave us last time around. So with that, if you have any questions, be happy to answer.
Yes, I do. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I was just going to ask if anybody had questions.
Guesstimate, because I know we're talking about the future, but what is the average home price going to be?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. Well, if you ask the landowner, as much as he can get out of him, how's that?
Yes, I'm sure. I'm sure.
I mean, given these are 90-foot lots, and obviously we had to cut density. I mean, I don't know. We don't have an exact product. We don't necessarily know if we're going to build it or if we're going to sell it. But given the fact that we've got big lots and we've lost density, obviously we're going to have to go with a little bit bigger product, because numbers are still numbers and math is still math. So, it's definitely going to be a much bigger product than we had the first time around.
Thank you.
But I really don't want to give you an answer as far as a cost, because I'm on the record and this is supposed to be testimony, and I don't want to say something I'm going to regret.
I was just, shooting my shot, going out there, trying to see.
Good try.
I have a question, sir.
Yes, sir.
That canal, is it going to catch how many of those lots?
There's a
No, actually, yeah. it's kind of hard to see on the plan, but if you look right behind the lots, what we have is we actually have a retention pond that's between the canal and
So you're
the
not going
lots.
to be able to tie in?
No, and the lots do not have frontage on the canal or the water. So if you're worried about docks or boat ramps or any of that stuff, it's not going to be allowable because there will be the open space tract, the wetland buffer, and then the retention pond between the actual lot boundaries and the water.
I've traipsed back in there a few times.
Yeah. Oh, you came out alive. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
With the plots going all the way left and all the way right, where's the easement that allows you to the back to take care of the property?
So it's actually going to be on lot 1 on the far west side there. So yeah, if you see right there, we actually have it called out. I know it's kind of hard to read, and I apologize for that. But yes, we've got that easement. It's kind of tight in there. It's a 20-foot access easement that we need to get to tract OS2 so that we can maintain it in perpetuity.
So don't buy that one.
It will be on lot 1, but it's just going to be.
Okay.
But it
that is your
an
access point.
Yeah, and that, obviously when we plat, that's how that easement will get created. It'll get created via the plat.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess David Thompson wants to speak. He filled out 2 of these forms, so he really wants to speak.
He wants 6 minutes.
So state your name and your address, please.
David Thompson, 1419 Beverly Point Road. On this map that's there, I can speak for myself for sure and others in the neighborhood. We have never been opposed to development in this first section they're talking about. It is the wetlands section that we're opposed to, and we have a great concern for. All of us have purchased homes in that area that are very expensive at this time, that we bought and were told that it was wetlands and would not be built on. Alongside the canal on what would be the north side, there's a peninsula that varies from about 60 feet wide down to maybe 30 feet that is dry, and right now we have a very big problem with transients and people camping in there and trashing. We need to have that taken care of. As a concern also for us with the property being located where it is by the school. Right now in the afternoons and the mornings, the pickup drop-off, the people take up the entire lane on the shore. If we coming in, we have to drive on people's yards to get in there. There's no way for anybody to get in. And adding more residents to drive in and out of that area. Plus, we thought redevelop the 27-441 that we would slow the traffic down, but no, it still makes a left-hand turn. It's on the North Shore. They travel down and turn by 2 places by the school, go over to the next road and down to Lee Street, and we get people going through there at 40, 45 miles per hour, and we don't have any police officers down there doing anything to stop it. And that's a big concern about having more houses, more traffic. But the people in the area aren't really concerned about having the house. We like the new proposal. But personally, I can tell you, I'm very much concerned about that bay area over there. We have all kinds. We have gators, we have otters, we have every kind of fish that you can think of in Florida in there. If these people were at some point in time come in here and want to develop that, we would lose a real conservation habitat. Consider to prevent that development on the road.
Time. Thank you.
Thank you.
To address that, I believe the board mentioned that they're going to make that a conservation area. So that'll automatically disallow any development.
Exactly what would that entail?
Everything north of those houses will be conservation. So the area will not be able to be built on. As far as the trespassing, suggest that the current owner or the homeowners association files a no trespassing with the police. Then what you do, the police, and they have the ability to kick them off. I had to do that with all my property, and I had the same issues.
I think when they put the housing in, it will stop.
Yeah, it'll slow it down.
Dan, another question too. That part of the road, is that Leesburg or county? Right there by the school.
Right by the school, north of that roadway is Lake County. It's the area in blue is the Lake County and the green. That is actually an enclave of Lake County within Leesburg. I believe it was owned by Mr. Beverly Grizzard for many years.
Yes.
And because it is a wetland area, it would be extremely difficult, extremely expensive to even consider any development. When it goes into a conservation future land use, that makes it even more difficult.
I think if it's a wetland, you can't build it anyway. Flood zone.
Flood zones, right.
You can build on.
That is correct.
But with the conservation thing, it's a mute
The
point.
vast majority of this property is wetlands and flood zones. The only part you can use is what they're using. And they've done a really good, Mr. Summit has done a really good job, and Mr. Lee, to put this together and to listen to what the neighbors said, listen to what this commission said, and come back with something that's representative of what was
Okay.
requested.
Just one more thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because I still got to find out if anybody else is speaking.
Yeah. As far as the road.
Yes, ma'am.
The roadway and the school is going to be redone. I mean, I heard there's improvements for the school. Beverly Shores is getting improvements. Also on that road, how could a citizen go about requesting speed bumps? Because he is correct about the traffic going. They may want to go through a process of requesting speed bumps on that right there on North Shore.
I'd rather police do it because I travel up and down the road every day.
Yeah, but that's the point.
Because I live over there.
Like he said, people are going there.
Right.
You got some.
Well,
I would like to see the county or the city, and I don't know if you ever noticed it, but on Griffin Road, right when you turn right on the Lee Street, they have a sign that says 441 this way. So it's almost like encouraging people to drive that way to cut through.
But if you had not speed bumps, speed tables. Speed tables is what I'm saying. Because if you're going home, you don't care if you have to do 25 because you're just going up a few blocks. But if you're going through and you got those speed, they have that over by the school. The middle school has speed tables. Mm-hmm. So I mean, because that road is not. If it's county, you got to wait for the widen that road.
And basically, to answer your questions, if it's the need for more in that area, then yeah, you go directly to the police department. For speed tables, which I think are actually more effective than the bumps, because they're not very high, but they're longer.
Right.
They're wider. Right. And that would come, I would recommend that if someone wanted to pursue that, they would go through their elected representative, whichever district they live in, and go at it that way, and then they would work with the city manager and the public works department.
I would say this because, I traveled up Lee Street for 60 years. I think they ought to put more four-way stop all the cut.
What the price was, because that would bring more value to the neighborhood, bring it back where it used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right on your prices because I've been looking lately. I live on Boyle Street, so. Was there anybody else that wanted to speak? Okay, we'll close to the public. And I would like to, who's the landowner? I would like to suggest that you go ahead and get a no trespassing on that now. And that way, now they can.
There's a sign there.
No, but I mean, go to the city, go to the police station.
Right.
Putting a sign up doesn't mean anything. If you go to the police station and sign trust me, I do this all the time, and go and sign a no trespassing, then they have the power to get rid of them.
Right, but the problem is the one that we're addressing right here, right now, it is Lake County. So Lake, you got to call the sheriff to come in and
Well,
do it.
I mean, things like that might change here in the next couple of years.
I know.
Any more discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion on public hearing case number SSCP 24-157.
Can I make a recommendation or something real quick? Sorry.
Well, you make a motion and put it in there.
Okay, so recommendation would be the sidewalks that you're showing on here to be poured 6 inches thick, since people are going to drive on them to get around to other parked cars in the road.
We can't get into the city standard details in the building code, but they will have to be poured to city specs or county specs, depending on whether they fall in the city's property, private property, or on the county right away. So they do have to be made to the specs.
So they're going to turn into gravel pretty quick.
Yeah, we don't want that.
The school is going to be renovated in a couple of years, so it's not going to. Hopefully, they'll address it.
Okay. No, that's a good idea. Is there a motion?
Yes, so is this number 13?
Yes.
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to approve public hearing case number SSCP-24-157 North Shore Cars Cove Small Scale Comp Plan.
Thank you.
May I respectfully request that the motion for us to be able to change the side setback from 10 feet to 7.5?
With the motion?
That's not for the comp plan.
I'm sorry, never mind. I'm tired too.
Your turn.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Carter?
Yes.
Commissioner Ackerman?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner Bowersox?
Yes.
Chairman Senate?
Yes. I'm telling you, at least we're entertaining up here.
No, we're hungry.
Yes. I know I've ate all my candy.
Yeah, I guess it's a sugar problem. Public hearing case number PUD 24-158 North Shore Caris Cove Plan Unit Development. Is there a motion?
There is. I would like to make a motion for public hearing case PUD-24-158 North Shore Cars Cove Plan Unit Development with the setback
7.5
instead of 10.
From 7 to 10.
7.5.
7.5 to 10 at minimum.
The other way around, please.
Oh, 10? I gotta go.
Welcome to the club.
From 10 to 7.5.
From 10 to 7.5 and add a chef salad to it. I'm hungry.
That's pretty good. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Ackerman?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner Bowersox?
Yes.
Chairman Senate?
Yes.
Commissioner Carter?
Yes.
All right.
Cool. Thank you very much. What are they going to make that car line? Are they going to bring it on the property?
I hope so.
I tell you, the Lake County School Board are terrible when it comes to car lines. They design them so horribly. You know, the high school's terrible, and this one they knocked down all those trees that I planted, those pine trees.
Oh, you got it. We're all like that.
Those pine trees that were cut down. I